Hello, 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 hello. Shalom, shalom. Happy Sabbath. Happy Sabbath, brothers and sisters. Happy Sabbath to y'all who are online. Um, Today's topic is going to basically be a long one. Myself was going to address it weeks ago about interracial marriage, and I'm going to make good on my promise. So today's topic is entitled "Showing Mercy Unto the Thousands." Showing mercy unto the thousands. That's today's lesson. You probably wonder, what does mercy have to do with interracial marriage? Well, it has everything to do with interracial marriage. Everything. You know, I never thought in the years I've been in this truth that I would ever have to go into a class teaching us not to be with the other nations. I know one West Camps used to know better. Now it seems like as the years progress, Israel's trying to assimilate themselves into American way of thinking. Can't be an Israelite and African American all at the same time. You gotta be one or the other. You gotta choose your master. Can't be American and be Israel at the same time. It's either one or the other. Even nations know, like animals know to stick to their own. The other nations have, for the most part, the ones who are not Americanized know to stick to their own. But Israel, for some odd, well, not even an odd reason, because we're going to read that this is common with us, want to go outside of the nation for some reason. We have the best-looking women on the earth. I don't know why you want to go anywhere outside of it. I don't understand it. So those who may take offense to this class is probably because you hate yourself and your people. It's probably the reason why you're upset. And those of you who have enough wisdom understand that this class is not to bash or attack anyone, but it's to remind you that there's no need to step outside of your nation because God gave you your women. Every nation has their own women. Moab has their women. Ammon has their women. Ishmael has their women. Elam has their women. Israel has theirs. So why? I don't understand it. So give me Exodus 20. Who's reading? Michelle?
Yes, sir.
Exodus 20, we're going to read verse 3. Exodus 20, verse 3.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 20, verse 3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
So the law is, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Read on. We're going to read to verse 6.
Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth.
Come on.
Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me.
Verse 6, watch this.
And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me, and keep my commandments.
So the Lord said he would show mercy unto the thousands. Now remember, Israel numbers in the millions, billions. But the Lord said he would have mercy upon the thousands, because that's what the Lord's dealing with. 144,000 in the third. So he said he was showing mercy unto the thousands that love him. So where's his mercy going to? We're going to read, jump to verse 13 to 17.
Exodus chapter 20, verse 13. Thou shalt not kill.
So the law is thou shalt not kill. Keep that in mind.
Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Thou shalt not commit adultery. Keep that in mind.
Thou shalt not steal.
Thou shalt not steal.
Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor.
Go ahead.
Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's.
Right, because coveting is the root of every other law. Coveting, every law you read here starts with coveting. When you covet the other nations, you're going to serve their gods. When you covet your brother's wife, you're going to sleep with her. When you covet your brother's belongings, you're going to steal. Covet is the root of everything. Covetousness is the root of everything. Everything. So keep that in mind as well. Give me Deuteronomy 7, verse 1. Deuteronomy 7, verse 1.
Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1. When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hath cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, and the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou.
Right, so these 7 nations is the doctrine that's being pushed from whoever, stating that these are the only nations we cannot lay with. all the nations listed outside of these 7 here, we can lay with them lawfully. That's the doctrine now. I never thought it would ever come a time where that would be a doctrine, but apparently that is a doctrine now. You can mess around with every nation in the Bible except these 7 here. Now, these 7 are in the land. There were other nations in the land also, but he's naming these nations because these are the nations from whom we conquered and took land from. That's why it emphasizes on these 7 here. Read on.
And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them.
No mercy, come on.
Neither shalt thou make marriages with them.
You should not make marriages with them. Go ahead.
Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son.
Do not marry them. Do not intermarry with them. Do not intermarry with them. Now, give me Luke 3 and 38.
It's the book of Luke, chapter 3, verse 38. Which was the son of Enos, which was the son of Seth, which was the son of Adam, which was the son of God.
Read again.
Which was the son of Enos.
Enos,
Which was the son of Seth, which was the son of Adam, which was the son of God.
Right, so Adam was the son of God. And so if Adam was the son of God, what were his children? Sons of God. Seth was the son of God, and Seth's children were the sons of God. All right? So now, that line was the sons of God. Now, give me Genesis 6 and 1. Genesis 6 and 1.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 1. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair.
Got the sons of God. So who's the sons of God here? Is going into Adam's lineage, Adam's righteous line, Seth's lineage, Seth's children. Enos, Enoch, Noah comes out of this line here, Seth's line. All right? Read again.
Verse 2. That the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair. And they took them wives of all which they chose.
So when the sons of God saw that the daughters of men, which is a line outside of Seth's line, okay, read on.
Verse 3. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he is also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years.
Meaning the Lord will cut man's lifespan short. Notice he says that after verse 2. Now, in my Bible, some of your Bibles, it says that the sons of God saw the daughters of men were fair, meaning beautiful, and they took them wives of all which they chose. Who has the annotation next to that? Who has that in their Bible? What is this? What's yours say? Mine had the 2. I want to see what it says. Thank you. Deuteronomy 7 and 3 and 4. That's what it has here. So the sons of God were doing something they were not supposed to be doing. The sons of God were marrying other people they were not supposed to marry. They were supposed to marry the daughters of God. They were not doing that. They were marrying the daughters of men. This interracial marriage here. That's what the Lord said, I'm going to cut your lifespan short because you're doing it. Now, of course, you read that the men, sons of God, had these daughters of men, and the children they had were mighty. But the Lord destroyed them. The flood came and destroyed them anyway. So what I'm showing you is that the daughters of men is the same thing going back to Deuteronomy 7, verse 3 and 4. The other nations. Okay, or another different line of people. So now, give me Deuteronomy 21, verse 10.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 21, verse 10. When thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, and the Lord thy God hath delivered them into thine hands, and thou hast taken them captive, and seest among the captives a beautiful woman.
So same thing. You saw that they're fair. It's the same thing. It's just if you go to war, when you go to war, this is not spiritual war. You're at camp and you curse out an Edomite woman, and you go to war with her and you take her as a wife. No. This is literal war. Killing, fighting, death, stabbing. That's what this is going into. Literal war. It says, and take them captive. This is when Israel was a nation, when they were going to war. All right, read verse 11 now.
Verse 11. And seest among the captives a beautiful woman.
And you see what?
A beautiful woman.
You see among the captives a beautiful woman. Go ahead.
And hast a desire unto her,
Like what you see. Go ahead.
that thou wouldest have her to thy wife.
Uh-huh.
Then thou shalt bring her home to thine house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails, and she shall put the raiment of her captivity.
Stop. She shall take off the raiment of her captivity because she was a war captive. She was a war captive. You're taking her out of that war captive camp area where they kept them, and you bring her home as your wife. Go ahead.
And she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month.
Why would she be bewailing her father and mother a full month? Stand up. Why is that? Oh, behind you, behind you. Go ahead. Hold on. Take that mic right there.
Because it was killed in the war.
Because they were killed in war. Yes. Because we killed her parents. Because there was war. There was war going on. So read on.
And after that, thou shalt go in unto her, and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife.
Right. And she shall be thy wife. So now. So that's a concubine. That's the law of the concubine right there. That's the law of the concubine. Verse 10 to 13 is the law of the concubine. Now, that law does not apply today because we are the concubines. We're captive here. You know, damn concubine. What war we had? Only war we have is war among our damn selves in the streets. Killing each other. You know damn war we have now. Not no physical war. This is when Israel was established in themselves. This is when Israel was established, and they took concubines when we went to war. That's what it's talking about. When I say we're concubines, I'm being sarcastic, but we are captives here. That we are. We are captives here. Give me Numbers 22. This is where a lot of reading comes in. We're going to read Numbers 22, verse 1.
This is the book of Numbers, chapter 22, verse 1. And the children of Israel set forward and pitched in the plains of Moab on this side Jordan by Jericho.
So the children of Israel set forward and pitched in the plains of Moab on this side Jordan by Jericho. Go ahead.
And Balak, the son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites.
Come on.
And Moab was sore afraid of the people, because they were many, and Moab was distressed because of the children of Israel.
Go ahead. They saw us come out of Egypt. Go ahead.
And Moab said unto the elders of Midian, Now shall this company lick up all that are round about us, as the ox licketh up the grass of the field. And Balak, the son of Zippor, was king of the Moabites at that time.
Go ahead. Moabites. Go ahead.
He sent messengers, therefore, unto Balaam, the son of Beor, to Pethor, which is by the river of the land of the children of his people, to call him, saying, Behold, there is a people come out from Egypt. Behold, they cover the face of the earth, and they abide over against me.
Go ahead.
Come now, therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people, for they are too mighty for me. Peradventure I shall prevail, that we may smite them, and that I may drive them out of the land. For I wot that he whom thou blessed is blessed, and he whom thou cursed is cursed.
Just so I know whoever you bless gets blessed, and whoever you curse gets cursed. Balaam was a witch. I know whoever you curse is cursed, whoever you bless gets blessed. Go ahead. So I need your help. Go ahead.
And the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian.
Elders of Moab and elders of Midian. Keep those names in mind. Midian and Moab. Keep adultery in mind, kill in mind. Keep all of that in mind. Go ahead.
Departed with the rewards of divination in their hand. And they came unto Balaam, and spake unto him the words of Balak. And he said unto them, Lodge here this night, and I will bring you word again, as the Lord shall speak unto me. And the princes of Moab abode with Balaam. And God said unto Balaam, and said, What men are these with thee? And Balaam said unto God, Balak, the son of Zippor, king of Moab, hath sent unto me, saying, Behold, there is a people come out of Egypt, which covereth the face of the earth. Come now, curse me them. Peradventure I shall be able to overcome them and drive them out.
Come on.
And God said unto Balaam, Thou shalt not go with them, and thou shalt not curse the people, for they are blessed.
So he's saying God said you can't curse them because they're blessed. Go ahead.
And Balaam rose up in the morning and said unto the princes of Balak, Get you into your land, for the Lord refuseth to give me leave to go with you. And the princes of Moab rose up, and they went unto Balak and said, Balaam refuseth to come with us.
Go ahead.
And Balak sent yet again princes, more and more honorable than they. And they came to Balaam and said to him, Thus saith Balak the son of Zippor, Let nothing, I pray thee, hinder thee from coming unto me. For I will promote thee unto very great honor, and I will do whatsoever thou sayest unto me. Come therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people. And Balaam answered and said unto the servants of Balak, If Balak would give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the word of the Lord my God to do less or more.
So whatever he gives me, I can't go against what God has told me. Go ahead.
Now therefore, I pray you, tarry ye also here this night, that I may know what the Lord will say unto me more. And God said unto Balaam at night, and said unto him, and God came unto Balaam at night, and said unto him, If the men come to call thee, rise up and go with them. But yet the word which I shall say unto thee, that shalt thou do. And Balaam rose up in the morning, and saddled his ass, and went with the princes of Moab. And God's anger was kindled because he went. And the angel of the Lord stood in the way for an adversary against him. Now he was riding upon his ass, and his two servants were with him. And the ass saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand. And the ass turned aside out of the way, and went into the field. And Balaam smote the ass, to turn her into the way. Verse 24, But the angel of the Lord stood in a path of the vineyards, a wall being on his side, and a wall on that side. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she thrust herself unto the wall, and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall, and he smote her again. And the angel of the Lord went further, and stood in a narrow place, there where was no way to turn either to the right hand or to the left. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she fell down under Balaam, and Balaam's anger was kindled, and he smote the ass with a staff. And the Lord opened the mouth of the ass, and she said unto Balaam, What have I done unto thee, that thou hast smitten me these 3 times?
So the Lord made the animal speak to him. Go ahead.
Verse 29, And Balaam said unto the ass, Because thou hast mocked me, I would there were a sword in mine hand, for now would I kill thee.
Go ahead.
And the ass said unto Balaam, Am not I thine ass, upon which thou hast ridden ever since I was thine unto this day? Was I ever wont to do so unto thee? And he said, Nay. Then the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand. And he bowed down his head and fell flat on his face.
Go ahead.
Verse 32, And the angel of the Lord said unto him, Wherefore hast thou smitten thine ass these 3 times? Behold, I went out to withstand thee, because thy way is perverse before me.
Go ahead.
And the ass saw me, and turned from me these 3 times. Unless she had turned from me, surely now also I had slain thee, and saved her alive. And Balaam said unto the angel of the Lord, I have sinned, for I knew not that thou stoodest in the way against me. Now therefore, if it displease thee, I will get me back again. And the angel of the Lord said unto Balaam, Go with the men, but only the word that I shall speak unto thee, that thou shalt speak. So Balaam went with the princes of Balak.
All right, so now let's jump to 23, read verse 1.
Numbers chapter 23, verse 1. And Balaam said unto Balak, Build me here 7 altars, and prepare me here 7 oxen and 7 rams. And Balak did as Balaam had spoken. And Balak and Balaam offered on every altar a bullock and a ram. And Balaam said unto Balak, stand by thy burnt offering, and I will go. Peradventure the Lord will come to meet me, and whatsoever he showeth me I will tell thee. And he went to an high place. And God met Balaam, and he said unto him, I have prepared 7 altars, and I have offered upon every altar a bullock and a ram. Verse 5, and the Lord put a word in Balaam's mouth, and said, return unto Balak, and thus thou shalt speak. And he returned unto him, and lo, he stood by his burnt sacrifice, he and all the princes of Moab.
Of Moab. Keep that in mind. Go ahead.
And he took up his parable and said, Balak, the king of Moab, hath brought me from Aram, out of the mountains of the east, saying, come, curse me, Jacob, and come, defy Israel.
Go ahead.
How shall I curse whom God hath not cursed? Or how shall I defy whom the Lord hath not defied?
Right, you can't. Go ahead.
For from the top of the rocks I see him, and from the hills I behold him. Lo, the people shall dwell alone, and shall not be reckoned among the nations.
Damn, go ahead.
Who can count the dust of Jacob, and the number of the 4th part of Israel? Let me die the death of the righteous, and let my last end be like his.
Go ahead.
And Balak said unto Balaam, what hast thou done unto me? I took thee to curse mine enemies, and behold, thou hast blessed them altogether.
Told you to curse them. I paid you. You blessing them. Go ahead.
And he answered and said, must I not take heed to speak that which the Lord hath put in my mouth? And Balak said unto him, come, I pray thee, with me unto another place, from whence thou mayest see them. Thou shalt see but the utmost part of them, and thou shalt not see them all. And curse me from thence, and curse me them from thence.
Right. Curse you from there. Go ahead.
And he brought him unto the field of Zophim, to the top of Pisgah, and built 7 altars, and offered a bullock and a ram on every altar. And he said unto Balak, stand here by thy burnt offering, while I meet the Lord yonder. And the Lord met Balaam, and put a word in his mouth, and said, go again unto Balak, and say thus.
Jump down to verse 19.
Verse 19. God is not...
verse 18.
Oh, verse 18. And he took up his parable, and said, rise up, Balak, and hear. Hearken unto me, thou son of Zippor. God is not a man that he should lie, neither the son of man that he should repent. Hath he said, and shall he not do it? Or hath he spoken, and shall he not make it good? Behold, I have received commandment to bless, and he hath blessed, and I cannot reverse it.
Yeah.
He hath not beheld iniquity in Jacob, neither hath he seen perverseness in Israel. The Lord his God is with him, and the shout of a king is among them.
Right, so Israel at this point was on point. So he couldn't curse us because Israel was doing right by the Lord at this time. We were doing fine. So the Lord was with us because we were doing the commandments. We were being right, but doing right by the Lord. So it was impossible for him to curse us because God was with us. Go ahead.
Verse 22. God brought them out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of an unicorn.
We were strong. Go ahead.
Surely there is no enchantment against Jacob, neither is there any divination against Israel. According to this time it shall be said of Jacob and of Israel, what hath God wrought? Behold, the people shall rise up as a great lion, and lift up himself as a young lion. Mm-hmm. He shall not lie down until he eat of the prey, and drink the blood of the slain.
It's going into that time. It's going into the time we're going to get the kingdom again. We're going to do the same thing again. Go ahead.
And Balak said unto Balaam, neither curse them at all, nor bless them at all.
He's saying, don't curse them at all, don't bless them at all either. Don't do either then. Go ahead.
But Balaam answered and said unto Balak, told not I thee, saying, all that the Lord speaketh, that I must do? And Balak said unto Balaam, come, I pray thee, I will bring thee into another place. Peradventure it will please God that thou mayest curse me them from thence.
You ain't listening. You ain't listening. Go ahead.
And Balak brought Balaam unto the top of Peor, that looketh toward Jeshimon.
Right, so another place. Jump to 24 now. 24 verse 1.
Numbers 24 verse 1. And when Balaam saw that it pleased the Lord to bless Israel, he went not, as at other times, to seek for enchantments, but he set his face toward the wilderness. And Balaam lifted up his eyes, and he saw Israel abiding in his tents, according to their tribes. And the Spirit of God came upon him. And he took up his parable and said, Balaam, the son of Beor, hath said, and the man whose eyes are open hath said, he hath said, which heard the words of God, which saw the vision of the Almighty, falling into a trance, but having his eyes open. How goodly are thy tents, O Jacob, and thy tabernacles, O Israel. As the valleys are they spread forth, as gardens by the river's side, as the trees of line aloes, which the Lord hath planted, and as cedar trees beside the waters.
Yeah.
He shall pour the water out of his buckets, and his seed shall be in many waters.
Right, it'll be scattered. Go ahead.
And his king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. God brought him forth out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of an unicorn. He shall eat up the nations, his enemies,
All right, go ahead.
and shall break their bones, and pierce them through with his arrows. He couched, he lay down as a lion, and as a great lion, who shall stir him up?
The Lord going to do that. We're going to do that. Go ahead. We're doing it now. Go ahead.
Blessed is he that blesseth thee, and cursed is he that curseth
Go
thee.
to verse 14.
Verse 14. And now, behold, I go unto my people. Come therefore, and I will advertise thee what this people shall do to thy people in the latter days.
Right. So this is Balaam prophesying. Now, go to give me Numbers 25 and 1. So he could not. So Balaam could not curse Israel, despite the rewards he was given. He couldn't do it. All right. He couldn't bless or curse them. Well, he blessed them. He couldn't curse them. 25 verse 1. Watch this.
Numbers chapter 25, verse 1.
So you're thinking, oh, okay, Balaam wasn't a bad guy. The Lord spoke to him, and he gave him visions of us prospering in the land and prospering in the last day in the kingdom and so forth. You know, so Balaam wasn't a bad guy, right? Okay. 25 verse 1.
And Israel abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab.
He began to do what?
To commit whoredom with the daughters of
He
Moab.
began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. Remember, Moab and Midian were the ones trying to get us cursed by Balaam. Go ahead.
And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods. And the people did eat and bow down to their gods.
So after the Israelite men were sleeping around the Moabite women introduced their gods to us. And we started to worship their gods. Go ahead.
And Israel joined himself unto Baal Peor. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel.
Remember, he could not curse us because Israel was doing right by the Lord. He said, I cannot go against them. I cannot defy Israel. God is with them. They were keeping the commandments. But once we started doing this, our shield was down. Now we're vulnerable. Now we can be attacked. Go ahead.
Verse 4. And the Lord said unto Moses, take all the heads of the people and hang them up before the Lord against the sun, that the fierce anger of the Lord may be turned away from Israel.
So the Lord said to Moses, take all the heads of the people and hang them up before the Lord against the sun, that the fierce anger of the Lord may be turned away from Israel. This is shame. Moses cut people's heads off and hung them up against the sun. That's humiliation. You got someone's father, someone's mother, someone's son, someone's grandfather, uncle, nephew, hanging up against the sun. Brothers complain about, oh, Israel, IUIC, they hate to shame people. The Lord told Moses to hang their heads up against the sun. These are people's children. These are people's kids being hung. Their heads are cut off and hung up against the sun. Now, that's humiliation. You're mad at words. We point at you, blasting you in front of everybody. That's not shame. Shame is cutting your head off and hanging it against the sun. That's shame. That's embarrassing. Go ahead.
Verse 5. And Moses said unto the judges of Israel, slay ye every one his man that were joined unto Baal Peor.
Kill them all. Go ahead.
And behold, one of the children of Israel came and brought unto his brethren a Midianitish woman.
Remember, Moab and Midian were the ones that conspired to have Balaam curse us. So after these heads are hung up against the sun, here comes the Negro. Here comes Jake bringing a Midianite woman into the camp. After he done seen the heads hanging from the sun, Israel doesn't learn. Go ahead.
In the sight of Moses. and in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel,
No shame. Go ahead.
who were weeping before the door of the tabernacle of the congregation.
Go ahead.
And when Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, saw it, he rose up from among the congregation and took a javelin in his hand. And he went after the man of Israel into the tent and thrust both of them through, the man of Israel and the woman through her belly. So the plague was stayed from the children of Israel.
There was a plague going on. The Lord had a plague before on the people. So the Lord had to. So Moses cut their heads off and hung their heads up against the sun because there was a plague going on. The plague would have turned the heads, turned the plague away. So as the plague is going on, this dude's bringing a heathen woman in. Phinehas went and killed them both at the same time. Go ahead.
Verse 9. And those that died in the plague were 24,000.
24,000. Go ahead.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, hath turned my wrath away from the children of Israel, while he was zealous for my sake among them, that I consumed not the children of Israel in my
Right,
jealousy.
because of him I didn't kill you. Because of him I didn't kill you all. Go ahead.
Wherefore say, Behold, I give unto him my covenant of peace, and he shall have it, and his seed after him, even the covenant of an everlasting priesthood, because he was zealous for his God, and made an atonement for the children of Israel.
14.
Now the name of the Israelite that was slain, even that was slain with the Midianitish woman, was Zimri, the son of Salu, a prince of the chief house among the Simeonites.
Oh, Simeon, northern kingdom. Simeon wants to around with Midian. Go ahead.
And the name of the Midianitish woman that was slain was Cosbi, the daughter of Zer. He was head over a people and of a chief house in Midian. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Vex the Midianites and smite them, for they vex you with their wiles. Wherewith,
Read verse 18 again. Read verse 17 again. 17.
verse 17, vex the Midianites and smite them,
Vex them and smite them. Go ahead.
for they vex you with their wiles.
What was their wiles? Their wiles was their women. The wiles was the women. Go ahead.
Wherewith they have beguiled you in the matter of Peor,
And their idols. Go ahead.
and in the matter of Cosbi, the daughter of a prince of Midian,
See?
their sister,
The woman. Go ahead.
which was slain in the day of the plague for Peor's sake.
Right. 26, verse 1.
Numbers 26, verse 1. And it came to pass after the plague
That killed 24,000 people. That killed 24,000 of us. Go ahead.
that the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, saying, Take the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel, from 20 years old and upward, throughout their father's house, all that are able to go to war in Israel.
Go ahead.
And Moses and Eleazar the priest spake with them in the plains of Moab by Jordan, near Jericho, saying, Take the sum of the people, from 20 years old and upward, as the Lord commanded Moses and the children of Israel, which went forth out of the land of
Jump
Egypt.
to verse 19.
Verse 19. The sons of Judah were and Onan, and and Onan died in the land of Canaan.
These are the sons of Judah. Watch this.
And the sons of Judah after their families were of Shelah, the family of the Shelonites,
Right. So Shelah, or the Shelonites. Go ahead.
of Pharez, the family of the Pharzites, of Zerah, the family of the Zarhites.
These are Judah's line. Go ahead and read. Hold on. These are Judah's sons. You had Onan, and Shelah. And Onan died. Then you had Pharez, Zerah, and you had Shelah, Pharez, and Zerah. Hold on a second. Go to verse 31, verse 1.
Chapter
Keep those in
31.
mind. Yeah, keep those in mind.
This is the book of Numbers, chapter 31, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Avenge the children of Israel of the Midianites. Afterward shalt thou be gathered unto thy people.
You might wonder why I read that about Judah, regarding those three sons, about Shelah, Pharez, and Zerah. I'm going to get to that in a minute. I'll deal with that later on. I read that for a reason. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And Moses spake unto the people, saying, arm some of yourselves unto the war, and let them go against the Midianites, and avenge the Lord of Midian.
Right, because remember, Midian and Moab were the ones responsible for sending in the daughters of Moab for Israel to sleep with, and that caused a plague. We cut the heads off, and so on and so forth, hang them against the sun, because there's a plague going on. That when Israel going into idolatry, the Lord started to plague us. In the midst of that plague, got this stupid idiot Simeonite dude mess with the heathen woman at the same damn time. All right, so the Lord's saying, okay, now it's time for you to attack them, because they attacked us. Go ahead.
Verse 4, of every tribe 1,000, throughout all the tribes of Israel shall ye send to the war. So there were delivered out of the thousands of Israel 1,000 of every tribe, 12,000 armed for war. And Moses sent them to the war, 1,000 of every tribe. Them and Phinehas, the son of Eleazar the priest, to the war, with the holy instruments and the trumpets to blow in his hand.
Go ahead.
And they warred against the Midianites, as the Lord commanded Moses, and they slew all the males.
And we killed all the males. We killed the Midianite men. Go ahead.
And they slew the kings of Midian, beside the rest of them that were slain,
Go ahead.
namely Evi and Rechem
Evi, Rechem, go ahead.
and Zur.
Zur was that, what's the name? Zur was that woman's father, who Simeonite was messing with. Cosby, that's Cosby's father. All right, Zur. Read it again.
And they slew the kings of Midian, beside the rest of them that were slain, namely Evi and Rechem and Zur and Hur
Go ahead.
and Reba, 5 kings of Midian. Balaam also the son of Beor they slew with the sword.
And we killed Balaam too. Somebody wonder why we killed Balaam for? Didn't he bless us? Why we killed Balaam for? What reason? Keep reading. Go on. You keep reading down. Watch.
And the children of Israel took all the women of Midian captives and their little ones, and took the spoil of all their cattle and all their flocks and all their goods.
And the children of Israel took all the women of Midian captives and their little ones. Go ahead. Keep going.
And they burnt all their cities wherein they dwelt, and all their goodly castles with fire. And they took all the spoil and all the prey, both of men and of beasts. For they brought the captives and the prey and the spoil unto Moses and Eleazar the priest, and unto the congregation of the children of Israel, unto the camp at the plains of Moab, which are by Jordan near Jericho.
Watch this. Come on.
And Moses and Eleazar the priest, and all the princes of the congregation went forth to meet them without the camp. And Moses was wroth with the officers of the host,
Why was Moses upset? What happened? Read on.
with the captains over thousands,
These men are high ranking. These are high ranking men. Captains of thousands. Go ahead.
and captains over hundreds, which came from the battle.
Came from the war. Watch this.
And Moses said unto them, Have ye saved all the women alive?
You brought the women back here? These men were lusting. You brought the women back here alive? They killed the men and kept the women. Because Israel had that problem. Remember, these women were the ones responsible for that plague. You figure Israel men would have killed the men and the women. They said, nah, keep the women. They look good, keep the women. Israel was wicked as hell. So they took the women. Moses was furious. He wasn't happy. He said, oh, but women are good. He was mad. He was angry. Go ahead.
Behold, these caused the children of Israel through the counsel of Balaam.
Do what?
Through the counsel of Balaam, to commit trespass against the Lord in the matter of Peor.
That's why we killed Balaam. Balaam cannot curse us. But what Balaam did was Balaam gave them counsel on how to get us defeated. He said, I can't curse them, but I can get them to curse themselves. Send your women up in there. Send your Moabite women in there. Send your Midianite women up in there, and they'll get themselves cursed. They'll curse themselves. That was his counsel. Because he want that money. Because he was covetous, Balaam. That's why he got put to death. So he gave counsel to send in the heathen women. That way they'll be vulnerable. Because as soon as we start messing around the women, where we go? What do we do? Go into idolatry. And after the idolatry, what happened? We got plagued by the Lord. Read on.
And there was a plague among the congregation of the Lord. Now therefore kill every male among the little ones.
Kill the boys, baby boys, men, boys too. Go ahead.
and kill every woman that hath known man by lying with him. But all the women children that have not known a man by lying with him, keep alive for yourselves.
Right, and then they will stay in the obviously in the area where they were held captives until they became women, and the men would go and say, like, I want that one. And that's how concubines came about. But the Israelite men, they kept them alive. They weren't supposed to keep them alive. They were supposed to kill them too. The women conspired with the men to have us plagued. That was Balaam's whole agenda. He said, I can't curse them, but I can't teach you how to get them to curse themselves. And we killed them with them. What verse is that?
That was verse 18.
Read verse 19.
Verse 19. And do ye abide without the camp 7 days. And do ye abide without the camp 7 days. Whosoever hath killed any person, and whosoever hath touched any slain, purify both yourselves and your captives on the 3rd day and on the 7th day.
Right. So we kept the women alive. So what I'm showing you is that there were laws that were put in place so that when Israel did these things, they were regulated. We were not supposed to have these women alive. We were supposed to kill them. But, okay, the Moses said, you know one thing? Fine. If you're going to keep them, kill the ones that know man, keep the virgins, and let them eventually, when they get older, take them as wives, whatever. That's the law of the concubine right there. That's why I read Deuteronomy 21, verse 13, or whatever, verse 10 to 13. That's what we're reading here. All right? So now, give me Deuteronomy 24. Deuteronomy 24, verse 1. So Moses, those women, those Midianite women, were made captives. They were made captives. Those are the same ones you read about in Deuteronomy 21, verse 10 to 13, about you see among the captives, whatever, take her. But we were not supposed to do that. We were not supposed to do that at all. Read.
Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 1. When a man hath taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he hath found some uncleanness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement, and give it in her hand, and send her out of his house.
Right, so if this man finds some uncleanness in his wife, he can put her away. Go ahead.
And when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife.
Because she's divorced. Go ahead.
But if the latter husband hate her, and write her a bill of divorcement, and giveth it in her hand, and sendeth her out of his house, or if the latter husband die, which took her to be his wife,
Go ahead.
her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife, after that she is defiled. For that is abomination before the Lord.
So if your wife, if a first husband puts away his wife, and she marries somebody else, and then he puts her away, the first husband can't go back and lay with her because she's defiled. That's an abomination. Go ahead.
And thou shalt not cause the land to sin, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. When a man hath taken a new wife, he shall not go out to war, neither shall he be charged with any business.
That's all I want. So verse 4. So it goes into divorce. Now, give me Matthew 19, verse 1. So we read about the bill of divorce. The bill of divorce. A man finds her, he finds some uncleanness in her. Keep that in mind.
The book of Matthew, chapter 19, verse 1. And it came to pass that when Jesus had finished these sayings, he departed from Galilee and came into the coast of Judea beyond Jordan. And great multitudes followed him, and he healed them there. The Pharisees also came unto him, tempting him, and saying unto him, Is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause?
Now, I went over this before. We all know the answer. The answer is yes. Based upon Deuteronomy 24, verse 1, a man can find some uncleanness in her. Some uncleanness in her goes into what? Every cause, right? Y'all remember that? We went over this like last week. Go ahead.
And he answered and said unto them, Have ye not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female? And said, For this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh.
So Christ is taking them back to before Moses. They're going into Adam and Eve. Go ahead. Before Moses. Go ahead.
Wherefore they are no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder.
Right. No divorce. Go ahead.
Verse 7. They say unto him, why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorcement and to put her away?
So if what God joined together, no man put asunder, why would God allow Moses to give? Why would God allow Moses to allow us to put asunder what God's joined together? How can it be if God joined together, no man can put it asunder? Why is there a bill divorce then? Go ahead. They're being slick. Go ahead.
He saith unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts,
Because of what?
because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives. But from the beginning, it was not
From
so.
the beginning, it was not so. Meaning there was no divorce in the beginning. Before Moses, there was no divorce. Go ahead.
And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery. And whoso married her, which is put away, doth commit adultery.
That's not found in the law. Christ is giving us a law. The only way you can put away your wife is if she gets defiled by another man. That's it. Other than that, you stuck with that woman. But under Moses, you could put her away for any reason you saw fit. Some uncleanness, whatever, her hair is not long enough, whatever, eyes are too brown. Nonsense. Israel could put away their wives for any cause. Christ is saying, no more, that's done with. Only if she commits fornication can you put away your wives. And then, of course, it's elaborated on regarding her becoming an unbelieving wife, whatever. That's added later on. So what I'm showing you is that in the law of Moses, a man can divorce his wife. But God did not like divorce. He was not down with that. He also wasn't down with men having concubines either. But Israel's being stubborn. Remember, we went to war. Our job was to go in and kill the males and the females. But what do? We kept the women. So Moses said, fine. You're going to keep them. We did it regardless. If you're going to keep them, then take the ones as virgins. But we weren't supposed to do that either. We weren't supposed to. So brothers read the law and go, because it's in the law, it's okay. It's not okay. Some of these things you read about, like divorce, was not okay. God was not down with that. He didn't like divorce. He didn't like us marrying the other nations. He didn't like that. But, of course, Israel being what? Hard-hearted. He said, all right, whatever, go ahead. I'll pass the law to keep things in order when you do divorce your wives or when you do marry heathen women. We weren't supposed to do that. You understand what I'm saying? I'll give you more examples. Give me Malachi 2:16. To prove that God doesn't like divorce. Malachi 2:16. We'll come back to Malachi later on.
The book of
Malachi 2, yep.
The book of Malachi, chapter 2, verse 16. For the Lord, the God of Israel, saith that he hateth putting away. For one coveteth violence with his garment, saith the Lord of hosts. Therefore, take heed to your spirit, that ye deal not treacherously.
With who? With your women. You deal not treacherously with your women. That's what he's talking about. And the Lord hateth putting away. He does not like divorce. That's what Christ said in the beginning, it was not so. But because of the hardness of your hearts, Moses suffered you to put away. Moses suffered a lot of things. Suffer means allow. He allowed a lot of things that should have been going on. Like concubines, that too. Divorce, that too. I'm going to give you an example. Give me Genesis 16, verse 1. The Heavenly Father had mercy on us. Mercy. He had mercy. He let things, sometimes the Most High would give what I call pardons. Pardons.
The book of Genesis, chapter 16, verse 1. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children, and she had an handmaid, an Egyptian whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said unto Abram, behold now, the Lord have restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarai. Mm-hmm. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian.
The what?
The Egyptian.
The Egyptian. So Hagar was an Egyptian woman. And Sarai was barren. She couldn't have any kids. So she said, listen, I'm going to need you to give her a child for me, use as a surrogate, so I can have a child. Go ahead.
After Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes.
Go ahead.
And Sarai said unto Abram, my wrong be upon thee.
My what?
My wrong be upon thee.
I made a mistake. I made a mistake giving this woman to you as a wife. Because she's becoming disrespectful because she's pregnant now. I had your baby. Go ahead.
I have given my maid into thy bosom. And when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. The Lord judged between me and thee. But Abram said unto Sarai, behold, thy maid is in thy hand.
Abraham said, hey, that's your business. That's sign woman problems. That's your business. You handle that. That's your maid. Ain't nothing to do with me. Go ahead.
Do to her as it pleaseth thee.
Do what you got to do.
And when Sarai dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face.
So Sarah dealt with her. Sarah whipped her behind. Go ahead.
Verse 7. And the angel of the Lord found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's maid, whence camest thou? And whither wilt thou go? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress Sarai.
My boss. Go ahead. Mistress. Go ahead. Master. Go ahead.
And the angel of the Lord said unto her, return to thy mistress, and submit thyself under her hands.
And respect her. Go ahead.
And the angel,
what verse is that?
that's verse 9.
Hold on. Yeah, stop there. Go to 21 verse 1. So she returned home. So that's an instance of Abraham taking an Egyptian woman as a wife because Sarai recommended it because she couldn't have any kids. Okay? 21 verse, we're going to be verse 1 to 5. We're going to jump to verse 9. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. The book of Genesis, chapter 21, verse 1. And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bare to him, Isaac.
Go ahead.
And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac, being 8 days old, as God had commanded him.
Go ahead.
And Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born unto him.
Jump to verse 9.
Verse 9. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, which she had born unto Abraham, mocking.
So Ishmael was mocking Isaac now. It's Hagar's son mocking Isaac. Go ahead.
Wherefore she said unto Abraham, cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac.
Yo, get her out of here. Sarah said, get this chick out of here. And her kid. Go ahead.
And the thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight because of his son.
Because he loved it. He loved Ishmael. Because his firstborn. Go ahead.
And God said unto Abraham, let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the lad, and because of thy bondwoman. And in all that Sarah have said unto thee, hearken unto her voice.
I believe at this point Ishmael was 13. I think he was 13 by this time. Go ahead.
For in Isaac shall thy seed be called.
He said, in other words, he said, listen, your wife is right. That y'all got to go. You can't have two heirs. Only one. Isaac is the heir. So give her to that child. They got to go. Him and the mother got to go. Go ahead.
Verse 13. And also of the son of the bondwoman will I make thee a nation, because he is thy seed.
Well, I'm going to bless him because he's yours. I'll bless him because he's yours. That's what I want. So she had to get rid of him. So he got rid of Ishmael, who was mothered by what? An Egyptian woman. An Egyptian woman. Now, get 23 verse 1.
The book of Genesis, chapter 23, verse 1. And Sarah was 107 and 20 years old. These were the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Conjeraba, the same is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. And Abraham stood up from before his dead and spake unto the sons of Heth, saying, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me a possession of a burying place.
Right, so you want to bury Sarah. Now, so she's dead now at this point. Get 24 verse 1. So Sarah died. Watch this, 24 verse 1 to 4.
The book of Genesis, chapter 24, verse 1. And Abraham was old and well stricken in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said unto his eldest servant of his house, that ruled over all that he had, put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh, and I will make thee swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell.
Do not give my son to these Canaanite women. Go ahead.
But thou shalt go into my country and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son Isaac.
Right. Go get my son a wife from his own kind, his own lineage. Now, what's that noise? Give me 25 verse 1.
Book of Genesis, chapter 25, verse 1. Then again, Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah. And she bare him Zimran, and Jokshan, and Medan, and Midian.
And who?
And Midian.
Midian. This is where Midian come from. These are the Midianites. So the Midianites were Abraham's kids. Okay? The Midianites were Abraham's children. Abraham's children. All right? So he took Keturah. Now, Keturah more than likely was a heathen woman. Okay? This is a concubine of his. Read on. We're going to read the verse 25. Read the verse 6.
And Ishbak and Shua, and Jokshan begat Sheba and Dedan. And the sons of Dedan were Asherim, and Lethushim, and Luamim. And the sons of Midian, Ephah, and Epher, and Hanak, and Abida, and Elda. All these were the children of Keturah.
Uh-huh.
And Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac.
Because Isaac was the heir. Isaac was the heir. Watch this.
But unto the sons of the concubines, which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts and sent them away from Isaac his son, while he yet lived, eastward unto the east country.
So these children he had, these concubines, were what? Cast off. They were not Sarah's seed, or Sarah's child. They were not children of the promise. Midian was not child. These all became Israel's enemies later on in the east country. These are Abraham's kids, but the Lord was not dealing with them. He was not dealing with these children at all. Now, I'm not saying that an Israelite man, how I put it, I'm not saying that if a man marries a heathen woman that the Most High doesn't deal with the child. No, I'm just saying in this particular instance, Abraham had a concubine. Keturah was one, and they had kids, but the Lord wasn't dealing with that child. The Lord was not dealing with that child or those kids. He didn't deal with Hagar's child. He didn't deal with these children here. He only dealt with Isaac. You understand? They were sent off. Now, give me 28 verse 1. Just bear with me. I'm building to something. Just bear with me. I'm just laying it out slow. 28 verse 1.
The book of Genesis, chapter 28, verse 1. And Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan.
Same thing that Abraham told his servant to get a wife of his own kindred. Isaac is not saying the same thing. Give my son a child of his own people as well. Go ahead.
Arise, go to Padanaram to the house of Bethuel, thy mother's father, and take thee a wife from thence of the daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother. And God Almighty bless thee, and make thee fruitful, and multiply thee, that thou mayest be a multitude of people. And give thee the blessing of Abraham to thee and to thy seed with thee, that thou mayest inherit the land wherein thou art a stranger, which God gave unto Abraham.
Read on.
And Isaac sent away Jacob, and he went to Padanaram unto Laban, son of Bethuel, the Syrian, the brother of Rebekah, Jacob's and Esau's mother. When Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Padanaram to take him a wife from thence, and that as he blessed him, he gave him a charge, saying, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. And that Jacob obeyed his father and his mother and was gone to Padanaram. And Esau, seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father, then went Esau unto Ishmael and took unto the wives which he had Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nahajoth, to be his wife.
Right. So Esau saw that Jacob went and listened to his father. He went and married his own kind. He saw that his parents did not like Canaanites. They didn't want to marry them because he went and married two of them, Esau. Because Esau was rebellious. He married two Hamite women. And so give me real quick. Genesis 26. 34. Real quick.
The book of Genesis, chapter 26, verse 34. And Esau was 40 years old when he took to wife Judith, the daughter of Beeri, the Hittite. and Bashemeth, the daughter of Elam the Hittite,
Watch this, 35.
which were a grief of mine unto Isaac and to Rebekah.
Because he knew better, but he was wicked as hell. So Jacob listened to his parents. Esau didn't listen to his parents. But after he saw Jacob followed instructions and married his own, he said, okay, I'll go marry Ishmael then. I'll go marry an Ishmaelite woman then. Still going against orders. He could have went to the same place and got a wife from over there, from Laban's. No, he wanted to go marry Ishmael instead because Esau was rebellious. Now, give me Romans 9, verse 1. Romans 9 and 1.
The book of Romans, chapter 9, verse 1. I say the truth in Christ, I lie not. My conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Ghost, that I have a great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ, for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption, and the glory, and the covenants, and the giving of the law, and the service of God, and the promises, whose are the fathers, of whom as concerning the flesh Christ came.
That's what Christ came for. Go ahead.
Who is over all, God bless forever. Amen.
Come on.
Not as though the word of God have taken none effect, for they are not all Israel, which are of Israel.
Not all Israel going to make it the kingdom. Not all Israel's going to believe. Not all Israel's going to believe. Go ahead.
Neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be
We
called.
read that in Genesis. But in Isaac is the chosen seed. Go ahead.
That is, they which are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of God, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed.
Who are the children of the flesh? We read about them earlier. Ishmael's one. Esau's one. Midian's one. Jokshan, all the children of Keturah, children of the flesh. All the flesh. All right? Not selected. Go ahead.
Verse 9, for this is the word of promise. At this time will I come, and Sarah shall have a son. And not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac.
So the chosen that was promised to Sarah was Isaac. And then the chosen promised to Rebekah was Jacob. Those two are counted as children of the promise. Read on, read on.
For the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of God according to election might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth.
Because before the children were conceived, God already said, I'm going to choose Jacob. Before they were even made, he said, before I put them in the womb, I know one's going to be cursed, one's going to be blessed. I'm going to choose one and despise the other. That's their purpose. All right? So now, get me on Galatians 4:23. Galatians 4:23.
The book of Galatians, chapter 4, verse 23. But he who was of the bondwoman was born after the flesh.
Was what?
But he who was of the bondwoman
Hagar.
was born after the
He
flesh.
was a child of the flesh. He was not a child of God. He was a child of the flesh, as were the children of Keturah. They were children of the flesh. They weren't the chosen ones. Go ahead.
But he of the free woman was by promise.
Right, but the one of Sarah came out of Sarah. Isaac, he was a child of promise, like the ones you read about in Romans 9. Go ahead.
Which things are an allegory.
So their births, them being born into the world, was an allegory. It's symbolic. As Esau and Jacob's birth was symbolic, one ruling the world after the other. Likewise, Ishmael and Isaac's births were symbolic as well. Go ahead.
Which things are an allegory? For these are the two covenants, the one from the Mount Sinai, which gendereth to bondage, which is Agar.
Old covenant. Go ahead.
For this Agar is Mount Sinai in Arabia, and answereth to Jerusalem, which now is, and is in bondage with her children.
Go ahead.
But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all.
Go ahead.
For it is written, rejoice, thou barren, that bearest not. Break forth and cry, thou that travailest not. For the desolate have many more children than she which have an husband.
Going into Sarah and Hagar. Go ahead.
Now we, brethren, as Isaac was, are the children of the promise.
So Paul's writing to the Galatians and reminding them that they are the children of the promise. Who the promises pertain to? The Israelites. Romans 9, verse 1 to 4. So we know who the Galatians are. The Galatians are the children of Israel. That's who Paul is writing to. Go ahead.
Verse 29. But as then he that was born after the flesh,
Born what?
born after the flesh, persecuted him that was born after the spirit, even so it is now.
Because remember, Ishmael mocked Isaac. And Ishmael was the child of the flesh. He was the child of the flesh. Okay? Go ahead.
Nevertheless,
Remember, the reason why he's a child of the flesh is because, number one, they didn't, those Abraham and Sarah, they lusted for a child. They desired a child. They were old. And Sarah got so desperate, she gave her handmaid to Abraham to bring forth a child. That child was a child of desperation. It wasn't a child of the promise. The Lord said, nope, that ain't that one. I'm going to give you a child in my time. Likewise, Isaac and Rebekah, they struggled to have a child. They had a child like 20 years later. Children 20 years later. And out of the two, he said, I choose one. Jacob. The other I reject. Go ahead.
nevertheless, what saith the scripture?
Well, say the scripture. We read it earlier. Go ahead.
Cast out the bondwoman and her son.
Ishmael and Hagar. Go ahead.
For the son of the bondwoman shall not be heir with the son of the free woman.
Right. Go ahead.
So then, brethren.
So then what?
So then, brethren.
Brethren. Go ahead.
We are not children of the bondwoman,
Hagar.
but of the free.
Of the promise. Children of the promise. So Abraham had a concubine. He had a concubine, Keturah. He had Hagar. These are concubines, really. And their children were cast off. All right? Then you had Sarah, of course, that child was of a promise. Now, once again, I'm not saying that the child has to have a Jake mother to be Israel. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that those children were cast off, cast aside. Now, give me Hebrews 12:16. So our forefathers had heathen women, but they weren't supposed to have heathen women. They were not supposed to have them. But the Lord, being merciful, he let that stuff ride. That's right, okay, just whatever. He pardoned it. But it wasn't supposed to be done. Hebrews 12:16.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 16. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright.
How was Esau a fornicator? How was Esau a fornicator? Go ahead. Have somebody back behind you.
Because he dealt with the other nations.
Thank you. Because he messed around with other nations. He messed around with Hamites. He messed around with Ishmaelites. He was not supposed to do that. That's why I say he's a fornicator. Now, give me Genesis 37, verse 1 and 2. Genesis 37.
The book of Genesis, chapter 37, verse 1. And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan.
Go ahead.
These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old,
17. Keep this in mind. He was 17 years old. Go ahead.
was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report.
Joseph brought to his father the evil that his brothers are doing. So they didn't like Joseph. Joseph was goody two-shoes. His brothers was doing evil. So he went and told on them. They did not like Joseph. Go ahead.
Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children,
Joseph was the favorite. Go ahead.
because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him.
They disrespected him all the time. These are our forefathers, by the way. They hated Joseph and spoke to him disrespectfully. Go ahead. What do you want? Why are you here? They talked to him and speak to him peaceably. Go ahead. And so he knew he was disliked. Go ahead.
And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more.
And so he told them the dream he had, and they hated him more. These are our forefathers. These are family issues. Brothers read the Bible like our forefathers running around floating in the air. It's so pure and holy. No. That's a myth. Our forefathers is wicked as hell. They had demons on them. They hated their brother. They had people. They hated Joseph, and they hated him more because he was the favorite. Read on.
And he said unto them, Hear I pray you this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we are binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaf stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf.
Damn. Go ahead.
And his brethren said unto him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us?
What you trying to say, Joseph? You going to reign over us? They don't like Joseph. So now he's telling them a dream that his sheep, their sheep bow down to his sheep. He's just making it worse. Joseph is making it worse. Go ahead.
Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words.
And his words. They hated him as a person. They hated his dreams. They hated his words. We hate you, nigga. We can't stand you. Hate, 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 hate. Go ahead.
Verse 9.
Go ahead.
And he dreamed yet another dream and told it his brethren and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me.
The sun, moon, and stars bowed to me. That sounds real arrogant. That sounds real arrogant. Go ahead.
And he told it to his father and to his brethren. And his father rebuked him and said unto him,
He wasn't being arrogant, but it's a dream he had. So his father checked him. Go ahead.
What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth?
Right, we're going to bow down to you. So the sun was his father, greater light. The moon was his mother, lesser light. And the stars were the lesser lights. 11 of them. So they're all going to bow to him. Go ahead.
Verse 11. And his brethren envied him. But his father observed the same.
So his brothers hated him even more for that. But the father was like, he thought it over. He said, okay, I wonder why you dreamed that. Go ahead.
And his brethren went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. And Israel said unto Joseph, Do not thy brother feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee unto them. And he said to him, Here I am, here am I. And he said to him, Go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren, and well with the flocks, and bring me word again.
Make sure they're okay.
So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, What seekest thou?
Because he got lost. Go ahead.
And he said, I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, They are departed hence.
They left.
For I heard them say, Let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brethren and found them in Dothan.
Go ahead.
And when they saw him afar off,
Watch this.
even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him.
So they see him coming. So you're going to kill this dude. They hated him. These are our forefathers. These is black people. They wanted to kill their brother just by the sight of him. I'm like, yo, I'm going to kill that dude, man. His stupid dreams in mouth. I'm going to kill that dude. I hate his thing. He got multicolored coat, too. Hate that nigga. Fancy coat. Go ahead. You know what?
Verse 19. And they said one to another, Behold, this dreamer cometh.
Ah, behold, the dreamer cometh. They're being sarcastic. Here comes this dreamer. These are our brothers. These are our forefathers, by the way. Go ahead.
Come now, therefore, and let us slay him and cast him into some pit.
Let us kill this dude and throw him somewhere. These are our forefathers. Y'all read the Bible. Brothers read the Bible and think that everyone's just pure and righteous. No. These were mortal men. Our forefathers are regular men. Read again.
Come now, therefore, and let us slay him and cast him into some pit. And we will say, Some evil beast have devoured him. And we shall see what will become of his dreams.
Yeah, see what happens to his dreams when he's dead. And we'll say an animal did it. They're plotting to kill Joseph. Go ahead.
And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands and said, Let us not kill him.
So Reuben was like, nah, this ain't right. Reuben said, nah, this ain't right. It's not right. So he managed to get Joseph out their way. Go ahead.
And Reuben said unto them, Shed no blood, but
Don't kill him.
But cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him of their hands, to deliver him to his
Out
father.
of their hands. Out of his hands.
Sorry. Lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver him to his father again.
Right. So Reuben thought to himself, I'm going to throw him in a pit in the wilderness so they can't kill him, and I'll come back for him later on. Go ahead.
Verse 23. And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat.
So they took his colored coat and ripped it up, took it off of him. Took that damn coat off. That's black people. Yeah, robbing and taking They're taking his coat off. Go ahead.
His coat of many colors that was on him. And they took him and cast him into a pit.
Threw him in a ditch. Go ahead.
And the pit was empty. There was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread.
Damn. After they threw him in a pit, they sat down to eat. They didn't care. They hated him that much. Go ahead.
And they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites.
Of who?
Ishmaelites.
Yeah, Abraham's kids. Go ahead.
Came from Gilead with their camels, bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt.
Merchants. Go ahead.
And Judah said unto his brethren,
Come Judah.
what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood?
Watch this.
Come and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites.
So let's do what?
Sell him to the Ishmaelites.
Let's sell him to the Ishmaelites. Go ahead.
And let not our hand be upon him.
Let's not kill him. Go ahead.
For he is our brother and our flesh. And his brethren were content.
That's a good idea. Let's just sell him in slavery. Go ahead.
Then there passed by Midianites.
And who?
Then there passed by Midianites, merchantmen.
Uh-huh.
And they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And they brought Joseph into Egypt.
See? So now, what verse is that? What verse is that? 28?
Verse 28, yes, sir.
Give me Exodus 21:16. What did our forefathers do? What did they do? Give me Exodus 21:16. I'll tell you how the Lord gave Israel pardons. He gave us pardons.
The book of Exodus, chapter 21, verse 16.
Watch this.
And he that stilleth a man
That steals a man
and selleth him,
or sells a man,
or if he be found in his hand,
that man he stole, go ahead.
he shall surely be put to death.
Did the Lord kill our forefathers? No. Were they worthy of death? Yup. Mercy unto thousands. The Lord lets things slide. Abraham taking Hagar, he wasn't supposed to have the Egyptian woman. Let it slide. He took Keturah concubine. Lord said, let it slide. There were things the Lord allowed our forefathers to do that we were not supposed to be doing. Likewise, selling Joseph into captivity, that was wrong. And by law, you get death for that. These are our forefathers. They hated their brother. They hated him with a passion. Love your neighbor as yourself. They didn't apply that. They knew that law. They didn't apply that, and they sold him off and violated a law that guarantees you death if you do it.
And Deacon, a lot of these camps would take the mercies given to our fathers to pleasure themselves, to exploit it, and to satisfy their own lust, their own flesh. And you have Christians take the mercies of our fathers and they make a doctrine out of it. Grace.
Yep, same thing. Doing the exact same thing. Give me Genesis 38, verse 1. Genesis 38, verse 1 and 2. Then we're going to jump to verse 13.
The book of Genesis, chapter 38, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to pass at that time that Judah went down from his brethren and turned into a certain Adullamite, whose name was Harah.
Uh-huh.
And Judah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite.
Of a certain what?
Canaanite.
Uh-huh.
Whose name was Shua.
Uh-huh.
And he took her and went in unto her.
Was he supposed to do that? No, he was not. Abraham and Isaac forbid it. Judah went and married with a Canaanite woman. What was Judah? Was he called right at this point? What was Esau called? Was Judah? Yeah. Yeah. Fornicator. So I'm showing you our forefathers did things they were not supposed to do. They did things they were not. The reason why the Most High loved us is not because we're some specials, because he loved Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Abraham was God's friend. The reason why we still sit as a nation is not because we're some spectacular people. No, it's because the Lord loved our forefathers and promised them he blessed their seed. That's why we exist. Because the Lord can't break his promises. If it weren't for them promises, we'd all be destroyed because Israel was wicked as hell. These are Jacob's boys. These are Jacob's sons doing this. But the Lord had mercy on Judah for doing that. He was not supposed to marry a Canaanite woman. No more than Abraham was to marry a Canaanite, Keturah or Hagar. He wasn't supposed to be doing that stuff. But they did. The Lord said, whatever. Amen. It wasn't supposed to be done. It was not supposed to be done at all. That was verse 2, right?
Yes, sir.
Hold
on. Verse 13.
Yeah, 13.
Verse 13. And it was told Tamar, saying, Behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Timnath to shear her sheep.
So what happened was Onan, I think, what's his name? Onan knew that it should be his. died. Judah had sons. He had 2 sons. He had and Onan. Had no seed, and Onan had no seed. So I think when died, it was Onan's job to raise up seed in his stead. And rather than was married to Tamar, and she had no kids by him. So his job was to go into Tamar and raise up seed to his dead brother. Rather than do that, he pulled out because he was wicked as hell. Pulled out, spilled in the ground. The Lord put him to death. So Tamar at this point is a widow. So at this point, she's now has to go and be with Shelah. Shelah was the 3rd son. You had Onan, and Shelah. Remember I read that earlier about Judah. It's Onan, and Shelah. Died, Onan died. So now she figures, well, Shelah's too young. So Judah's job was to wait until Shelah got older and give her to him to raise up seed to both his dead brothers. But Judah didn't do that. So we're going to see what she did because he didn't give her Shelah like he was supposed to. Let's see what she does. Read verse 13.
The book of Genesis, chapter 38, verse 13. And it was told Tamar, saying, Behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Timnath to shear his sheep. And she put her widow's garment off from her, and covered her with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open place, which is by the way to Timnath. For she saw that Shelah was grown, and she was not given unto him to wife.
Right, because died. Her husband died. Onan didn't give her no children. So he got put to death. So now both of them are dead. She's a widow. So then she sees Shelah grew up, and when he got older, she was supposed to be his wife to raise up seed for his dead brothers. But Judah didn't give her to him. So go ahead, read on.
When Judah saw her, he thought her to be an harlot.
So when Judah saw the way she was dressed in this open place with a veil on, he thought, oh, she's a hoe, prostitute. Watch this.
Because she had covered her face.
Right, go ahead.
And he turned unto her by the way and said, Go to, I pray thee, let me come in unto thee.
Let me lay with you, let me sleep with you. Thinking she's a prostitute. This is Judah now. Go ahead.
For he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law.
He didn't know who she was. Go ahead.
And she said, What wilt thou give me, that thou mayest come in unto me?
Go ahead.
And he said, I will send thee a kid from the flock.
I got money. This is a trick. He's a trick at this point. This is Judah. Brothers read the Bible with blinders. Oh, no, it was so pure. Judah was floating in the air. His Bible turned his own pages. Y'all retarded. I thought I was as wicked as hell. This is real life. I got money. Oh, how much is it going to be? How much you get for them drawers? How much? Oh, okay. I got a flock. I will give you a flock. Read again, 17.
And he said, I will send thee a kid from the flock.
Yeah.
And she said, Wilt thou give me a pledge till thou send it?
How can I trust you? What you gonna give me before you? What are you gonna give me to reassure that you'll pay me for my services? Go ahead.
And he said, What pledge shall I give thee?
What do you want?
And she said, Thy signet and thy bracelets.
Armbands, your signet, your armbands.
And thy staff that is in thy hand. And he gave it her and came in unto her. And she conceived by him.
And he got her pregnant. Pyaw, first shot. Got her pregnant. Go ahead. You shot the club up. Go ahead. 19.
Verse 19. And she arose and went away and laid by her veil from her. And put on the garments of her widowhood.
So she took off a whore costume and put back on the widow costume. Widow's through the garment again. Go ahead.
And Judah sent the kid by the hand of his friend, the Adullamite, to receive his pledge from the woman's hand. But he found her not.
So he sent the money to pay her by his friend so he can get his stuff back. But she was gone. Go ahead.
Then he asked the men of that place, saying, Where is the harlot that was openly by the wayside?
Where that hoe at? Where'd she go? With my stuff. Go ahead.
And they said, There was no harlot in this
Ain't
place.
no hoe here. What you talking about? Go ahead.
And he returned to Judah and said, I cannot find her. Also, the men of the place said that there was no harlot in this place. And Judah said, Let her take it to her, lest we be shamed. Behold, I sent this kid, and thou hast not found her.
Go ahead.
And it came to pass about 3 months after
3 months later, go ahead.
that it was told Judah, saying, Tamar, thy daughter-in-law, hath played the harlot.
Go ahead.
And also, behold, she is with child by whoredom.
She was child by whoredom. Go ahead.
And
Remember, she was promised to Shelah, but he gave Shelah to somebody else. Go ahead.
And Judah said, bring her forth and let her be burnt.
The nerve. That kill her. She playing a hoe. He's sleeping with hoes. Read on.
Verse 25. When she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, by the man whose these are, am I with child.
Who the stuff belongs to is the father of this baby. The signet, the bracelets, and the staff. Go ahead. Gotcha, nigga. Go ahead.
And she said, discern, I pray thee. Whose are these the signet?
Discern who this belongs to. There's armbands here. Go ahead.
And bracelets.
These bracelets, armbands. He has some nice armbands. Wow. Who's these belong to? Go ahead.
And staff.
Whose staff? Whose stick is this? Who's this belong to? Go ahead.
And Judah acknowledged them and said,
oh, damn. Got me. DNA test. Damn. You are the father. Go ahead.
she hath been more righteous than I.
She has been more righteous. Why? Because he was messing around with a prostitute. He thought he said, she's more righteous than I. He was wrong. He didn't give his son to her. So she took matters into her own hands. She went and decided to lay with him. Someone got to raise up seed to his son, so it'll be him. And she had twins. She had Perez and Zerah. You read that earlier. And Shelah.
Thousands of years later, we have Maury.
Yup, pretty much. Go ahead. Watch this. Verse 26 again.
Verse 26. And Judah acknowledged them and said, she hath been more righteous than I.
Right.
Because that I gave her not to Shelah my son.
See, I didn't give him. I'm supposed to give him to her. I didn't do it. Go ahead.
And he knew her again no more.
He didn't sleep with her no more. See that? He didn't sleep with her again. Go ahead.
And it came to pass in the time of her travail that behold, twins were in her womb.
Right. Perez and Zerah. And Shelah was already grown. He was the oldest at this point. So they had twins. All right. So now, that's Judah. There you go. Sorry, man. It's what it is. The Judges 14. No, give me Judges 14, verse 1. Don't get me wrong, righteous men came out of Judah's line. Solomon came out of that line, David, but that doesn't mean that our forefathers didn't have any faults. They had faults among them.
The book of Judges.
Makes the Bible more real, exactly.
The book of Judges, chapter 14, verse 1. And Samson went down to Timnath and saw a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines.
Mm-hmm.
And he came up and told his father and mother and said, I have seen a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines.
Hamite, go ahead.
Now therefore, get her for me to wife.
Mm-hmm.
Then his father and his mother said unto him,
Watch this.
Is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren, or among all my people, that thou goest to take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistines? And Samson said unto the father, get her for me, for she pleaseth me well.
He didn't listen. He said, what you want her for? You got all these sisters, your own people you can have. What you want that for? For what? The same question I asked you, that doctrine. For what? You have your own women. Why the other nations for? Read on. But what did he say? Get it for me. She pleased me. I like Moab. I like Ammon. I like Elam. I like Edom. Go ahead.
But his father and his mother knew not that it was of the Lord, that he sought an occasion against the Philistines. For at that time, the Philistines had dominion over Israel.
So the Lord raised up Samson's spirit to like them heathens because the Lord had a plan to use Samson to overthrow the Philistines who had us in captivity during this time. That was the whole purpose of Samson, to be raised up to overthrow the Philistines who were ruling over us at this time. That's why he had a whole thing for the Philistines, like was for Esther, same thing. Read on. Well, we're going to read. Hold on a second. Read verse 9. Read to verse 9.
Then went Samson down and his father and his mother to Timnath, and came to the vineyards of the Timnath. And behold, a young lion roared against him.
A young lion roared against him. Go ahead.
And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him. And he rent him as he would have rent a kid. And he had nothing in his hand. And he told not his father or his mother what he had done.
So he ripped the lion in half. Samson has super powers, super strength. But he was stupid as hell, too. Go ahead.
And he went down and talked with the woman. And she pleased Samson well. And after a time, he returned to take her. And he turned aside to see the carcass of the lion. And behold, there was a swarm of bees and honey in the carcass of the
There
lion.
was a swarm of bees and honey in the carcass, in the dead body of the lion. Go ahead.
And he took thereof in his hands and went on eating.
Was he supposed to do that? No. That's nasty. He's eating out of a dead lion's body. That's disgusting. Go ahead, watch this.
And came to his father and mother and gave them.
And gave them some of the same nastiness out of the lion's body. Go ahead.
And they did eat.
Watch this.
But he told not them
Why?
that he had taken the honey out of the carcass of the lion.
Why didn't he tell them? Because it's against the law to eat that. That's why. Samson was stupid as hell. He was wicked as hell. But he was used, the Most High said, I'm going to use him to overthrow the Philistines. He had a purpose. That was his purpose. Despite his simplicity and super strength. Simple and strong. 16 verse 1.
Book of Judges, chapter 16, verse 1. Then went Samson to Gaza and saw there an harlot.
And so what?
A harlot.
Here we go again with the host. So a harlot, go ahead.
And went in unto her.
And lay with the harlot. There goes Samson laying with harlots. So is this okay? Is this all right to just lay with heathens, lay with harlots? Because the doctrine also, many camps follow this bum camp that teaches it's okay to sleep with harlots, as well as heathens. So give me real quick, Sirach 9:3. Ecclesiastes 9. Let's see if it's okay to sleep around prostitutes. Let's see if it's okay to do that. Sirach 9 verse 3. Let's see him use blue letter for this.
The book of Sirach, chapter 9, verse 3.
And they can't, by the way. That's why I went here instead. Sirach 9 verse 3.
Meet not with an harlot.
Meet what?
Meet not with an harlot.
Meet not. Mean don't meet with an harlot. Like Judah did and like Samson did. Read again.
Meet not with an harlot,
Go ahead.
lest thou fall into her snares.
Right, like a disease. Go ahead.
Use not much the company of a woman that is a singer, lest thou be taken with her attempts.
Watch this.
Gaze not upon a maid, that thou fall not by those things that are precious in her.
Right. Know what that is. Precious in her. Go ahead.
Give not,
Watch verse 6.
give not thy soul unto harlots,
Give not your body or soul unto harlots. Go ahead.
that thou lose not thine inheritance.
Watch verse 7. Watch this.
Look not round about thee in the streets of the city, neither wander thou in the solitary places thereof.
Looking for what? Harlots. Don't look for prostitutes. Don't sleep with prostitutes. That's what it says. Nasty, nasty niggas out here, man. I'm telling you. This Sirach 41 verse 17. Sirach 41:17.
The book of Sirach, chapter 41, verse 17. Be ashamed of whoredom before father and mother, and of a lie before a prince and a mighty man.
These are things to be ashamed of. These are things to be ashamed of. Be ashamed of whoredom, it says. Now, jump down to verse 20 for the retards out there listening.
Verse 20. And of silence before them that salute thee.
Be ashamed if someone salutes you and you give them silence. Be ashamed of that. Watch this.
And to look upon an harlot.
And to look upon a harlot is a shame. Don't do that. Get 26:22. Sirach 26 verse 22.
The book of Sirach, chapter 26, verse 22. And harlot shall be accounted as spittle.
Counted as what?
Spittle.
Uh-huh.
But a married woman is a tower against death to her husband.
It's a tower against death to her husband. So a harlot is counted as spittle. They're going to be destroyed when the Lord returns. If they have not repented of that nonsense, that lifestyle. Give me Genesis 35:22. Israel's terrible, man. I'll tell you.
The book of Genesis, chapter 35, verse 22. And it came to pass, when Israel dwelt in that land, that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine.
Wait. Read again.
And it came to pass, when Israel dwelt in that land,
Watch this.
that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine.
Bilhah is Dan and Naphtali's mother. Bilhah is Dan and Naphtali's mother. Reuben slept with his stepmother. Reuben slept with his stepmother, Jacob's wife. Go ahead.
And Israel heard it.
And Israel heard what he did. Go ahead.
Now the sons of Jacob were 12.
Stop. Now, let's see what he did when he heard it. Get 1 Chronicles 5:1. Let's see what he did. Let's see if he just dismissed it. What did he do? Oh, he slept with my wife. Oh, okay, no problem. Let's see what Jacob did. 1 Chronicles 5:1.
The book of 1 Chronicles, chapter 5, verse 1.
Family drama. Go ahead.
Now the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel.
Reuben was the firstborn of Jacob. He was his firstborn. Meaning he's entitled to what? The inheritance, the birthright. Go ahead.
For he was the firstborn.
He was the firstborn. Watch this.
But for as much as he defiled his father's bed, his birthright was given unto the sons of Joseph, the son of
He
Israel.
gave Reuben's birthright to Joseph's sons. You bang my wife, or you losing the birthright? I'm giving it to Joseph. That's what he did. Gave it to Ephraim and Manasseh. Gave it to them. Go ahead.
And the genealogy is not to be reckoned after the birthright.
You can't count Reuben's lineage as the lineage of the birthright because Jacob took that from him for sleeping with his wife. Verse 2.
For Judah prevailed above his brethren.
But Judah prevailed above both Joseph and Reuben. Go ahead.
And of him came the chief ruler.
David.
But the birthright was
The
Joseph's.
birthright was Joseph's. So now, it also explains the beef that Ephraim and Judah had even back then too. That beef. Get Genesis 49, verse 3. Genesis 49, verse 3. Let me read the verse 4.
The book of Genesis, chapter 49, verse 3. Reuben, thou art my firstborn,
Yeah, go ahead.
my might, and the beginning of my strength,
This is Jacob talking, by the way. Go ahead.
the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power.
Watch this.
Unstable as water, thou shalt not
You
excel,
should not excel. Watch this.
because thou wentest up to thy father's bed. Then defilest thou it.
My wife. Go ahead.
He went up to my couch.
To my wife. So you will not excel as the firstborn. You will not excel as the firstborn for what you did. Get me Deuteronomy 22 and 22.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 22, verse 22. If a man be found lying with a woman married to an husband, then they shall both of them die, both the man that lay with the woman and the woman. So shalt thou put away evil from Israel.
So what is the price for adultery? What did Reuben do? He committed adultery. Did he get death? No. God is merciful. Because he's supposed to get put to death. Him and Bilhah were supposed to get put to death. Both of them. But they weren't put to death. Mercy was granted to them. Give y'all prime examples of things our forefathers was doing they weren't supposed to be doing. Give me Judges 21:25. Judges 21:25.
The book of Judges, chapter 21, verse 25. In those days there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes.
Those days is the days of Judges. Israel did what they wanted to do. Like Samson, Israel did what we wanted to do during the time of Judges. We had no king over us at that time. Now, Ruth chapter 1, verse 1.
The book of Ruth, chapter 1, verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons.
Go ahead.
And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there.
So there was a famine in Canaan, so they dwelt in Moab. They resided there. This family, Elimelech, his wife Naomi, and their sons Mahlon and Chilion. Go ahead.
And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left, and her 2 sons.
Uh-huh.
And they took them wives of the women of
They
Moab.
did what?
Took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years.
Right, go ahead.
And Mahlon and Chilion died also, both of them. And the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband.
Uh-huh.
Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had visited his people and given them bread.
The famine was over. Go ahead.
Wherefore she went forth out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her. And they went on the way to return unto the land of Judah.
Right, so that now all you have now is Naomi, Ruth, and Orpah, her daughters-in-law, who were married to her 2 sons who died. So these are all widows. Go ahead.
And Naomi said unto her 2 daughters-in-law, Go return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as ye have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant you that you may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and wept.
Verse 10.
And they said unto her, Surely we will return with thee unto thy people.
We're going to go with you. Now jump down to verse 14.
Verse 14. And they lifted up their voice and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clave unto her.
Ruth wanted to stay with her. Go ahead.
And she said, Behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people.
Back unto what?
Back unto her people.
Because they're Moabites. These are not Israelite women. That doctrine's stupid as hell. These are heathen women. They resided in Moab. They married Moabite women. Orpah went back to her people because she was Moab. Ruth decided to stay with Naomi. Go ahead.
And unto her gods.
And to her gods. Say, return to your people and return to your gods. Go ahead.
Return thou after thy sister-in-law. And Ruth said, Entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go.
So she's cleaving to Naomi. Go ahead.
And where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God.
Right, go ahead.
Where thou diest, will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me.
Go ahead.
When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking unto her. So they two went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass, when they were come to Bethlehem, that all the city was moved about them. And they said, Is this Naomi?
Go ahead.
And she said unto them, Call me not Naomi, call me Marah, for the Almighty have dealt very bitterly with me.
Go ahead.
I went out full, and the Lord have brought me home again empty. Why then call ye me Naomi, seeing the Lord have testified against me, and the Almighty have afflicted me?
22.
So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess,
Ruth the what?
the Moabitess,
She's a heathen. This is a heathen woman. Go ahead.
her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of barley harvest.
Now, you're probably wondering, well, what's the point of Ruth? Get chapter 2 now, verse 1.
The book of Ruth, chapter 2, verse 1. And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz.
So Naomi had a kinsman, a near kinsman, who was a mighty man and wealthy, named Boaz. All right, read on.
And Ruth the Moabitess said unto Naomi, Let me now go to the field and glean ears of corn after him, in whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, Go, my daughter. And she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers. And her hap was to light on a part of the field belonging unto Boaz, who was of the kindred of Elimelech. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem and said unto the reapers, The Lord be with you. And him, the Lord bless thee. Then said Boaz unto his servant that was set over the reapers, Whose damsel is this? And the servant that was set over the reapers answered and said, It is the Moabitish damsel that came back with Naomi out of the country of Moab. Mm-hmm. And she said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came and have continued, even from the morning unto now, that she tarried a little in the house. Then said Boaz unto Ruth, Hearest thou not, my daughter? Go not to glean in another field. neither go from hence, but abide here fast by my maidens. Let thy eyes be on the field that they do reap, and go thou after them. Have I not charged the young men that they shall not touch thee? And when thou art athirst, go unto the vessels, and drink of that which the young men have drawn.
Go ahead.
Then she fell on her face and bowed herself to the ground, and said unto him, Why have I found grace in thy eyes, that thou shouldest take knowledge of me, seeing I am a stranger?
She's a heathen. Go ahead.
And Boaz answered and said unto her, It hath fully been showed me all that thou hast done unto thy mother-in-law since the death of thy husband, and how that hast left thy father and thy mother, and the land of thy nativity, and art come unto a people which thou knowest not heretofore.
Because she's not Israel. She's a heathen. Now, get chapter 4, verse 1. Let's read about why Ruth is mentioned at all. What's her importance?
The book of Ruth, chapter 4, verse 1. Then went Boaz up to the gate and sat him down there. And behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, unto whom he said, Ho, such a one, turn aside, sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, Sit ye down here. And they sat down. And he said unto the kinsman, Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, selleth a parcel of land, which was our brother Elimelech's.
Elimelech's, go ahead.
And I thought to advertise thee, saying, Buy it before the inhabitants, and before the elders of my people. If thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know. For there is none to redeem it beside thee, and I am after thee. And he said, I will redeem it.
So Elimelech had land. Land in Israel. He had land here. These men, Elimelech's dead. Or you have is Naomi, who's old now, and you have Ruth. So this land, allotment of land here, the men that have possession of it are pretty much they're dead, right? So what has to be done is once Naomi's gone, the land is lost because Naomi is old now. She has no sons. Her sons died leaving behind those kids. So the only thing left for the land is Naomi, Ruth, and Ruth. That's it. Once Naomi dies, the land is lost. So you have to raise up seed. What? In order for the land to stay in the possession of who? Elimelech. You understand? That's the law. The land must stay in the possession of who it pertains to. Go ahead. So he's saying, listen, I'm related to Elimelech, he's related to Naomi. He says, so you guys are first in line to buy this land and take possession of it or whatever, but not come after you. So if you want to redeem it, redeem it. If you can't, let me know, and I'll buy it. I'll take possession of Elimelech's land. Go ahead.
Verse 2. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, Sit ye down here. And they sat down. And he said unto the kinsman, Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, selleth a parcel of land which was our brother Elimelech's.
Right, Elimelech's. Go ahead.
And I thought to advertise thee, saying, Buy it before the inhabitants and before the elders of my people. If thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know. For there is none to redeem it beside thee, and I am after thee. And he said, I will redeem it.
Go ahead.
Then said Boaz, What day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance.
Right. So if you're going to buy this land, you have to take Naomi also and lay with her, who was married to him, married to his sons, to raise up seed in honor in his name, so the land stays in his name. Go ahead.
Verse 6.
So she is part of the inheritance. This is a business transaction. That's all she is. This is business. Go ahead.
And the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar my own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it.
If I take this land and this woman, it'll cut into my own inheritance, so I cannot take that, so I can't. You do. You can have it. You can have her and the rest of the land. I can't do it. It'll cut into my own possessions. Go ahead.
Now, this was the manner in former time in Israel, concerning redeeming and concerning changing. For to confirm all things, a man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor. And this was a testimony in Israel.
Go ahead.
Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz, Buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe.
Right, to confirm that he believes his rights. Go ahead.
And Boaz said unto the elders and unto all the people, Ye are witnesses this day that I have brought all that was Elimelech's,
Elimelech, go ahead.
and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's of the hand of Naomi.
Go ahead.
Moreover, Ruth, the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife,
She came with the land. Go ahead.
to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance,
Uh-huh.
that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren, and from the gate of his place. Ye are witnesses this day.
That's the whole reason behind Ruth. Love your neighbor as yourself. That's what he's doing. He's raising up seed in honor of his dead brother, so the land stays in his brother's name. And within the tribe as well. The numbers what? Numbers 36. Get that law real quick. Numbers 36.
Because even like I said, in the world, you have the other nations. Because usually, if you're not born on a land, or if you come from a foreign nation, you can't just take possession of that land. You gotta be a citizen of the land. So what the other nations will do, primarily Esau, to get their foot in there and do business transaction, they will make marriages with the people of that land. They do that in Jamaica and a lot of Caribbean countries. And what happens is they'll make marriages. Once they die, they have possession of the land. So the children come in and they build businesses, hotels. Now you have the Chinese in Jamaica. You have the Chinese in Africa. It's a business transaction. That's all it is.
Start at
36.
Start at verse 1.
Verse 6.
Verse
Yeah.
6. The book of Numbers, chapter 36, verse 6. This is the thing which the Lord doth command concerning the daughters of Zelophehad, saying, Let them marry to whom they think best. Only to the family of the tribe of their father shall they marry.
They can only marry within their tribe because these daughters, this man's Zelophehad had only daughters. He had only daughters. So the law was, if you have only daughters, you must marry a man of your tribe to keep the land within that tribe's possession. You understand? So I'm gonna say it again. When you had only daughters in Israel, the sisters had to marry a man of their own tribe to keep the land within the tribe. Otherwise, the tribe will lose that land. For example, if I have a bunch of daughters, right, and then I pass away, and I'm Judah. Benjamin comes along and marries my daughter, and that land now belongs to Benjamin. That cannot go on. So I had to be married to Judah to keep the land with Judah. That's what it's going into. Go ahead.
Verse 7. So shall not the inheritance of the children of Israel remove from tribe to tribe.
See? You're explaining it. Go ahead.
For every one of the children of Israel shall keep himself to the inheritance of the tribe of his fathers.
Verse 8.
And every daughter that possesseth inheritance in any tribe of the children of Israel shall be wife unto one of the family of the tribe of her father, that the children of Israel may enjoy every man the inheritance of his fathers.
That's going into when we were in our land. You had dumb Israelites saying, see, you can only marry your own tribe. No. That's going into when we had our land. Are we in our land now? No. Did Israel marry outside their tribes? Plenty of times. David married Saul's daughter. What tribe was Saul? What tribe was David? So that's a stupid doctrine. Very, very stupid. Aaron married a Judite sister. Right. That's how John and the Messiah were cousins. Now, give me through Elizabeth. That's how they were cousins. Give me Judges again. Ruth again. Ruth again. Go back there. Where we stop at in Ruth? Remember? 10?
1 second.
Where did we stop in Ruth? Verse 10, right? I thought so. All right, so that was verse 10. Jump to verse 13. I'll show you why Ruth has an importance of any kind. Watch this. Verse 13.
The book of Ruth, chapter 4, verse 13.
Watch this.
So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went in unto her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son.
Right. Now jump to verse 16. Watch this.
Verse 16. And Naomi took the child and laid it in her bosom and became nurse unto it.
Keep going.
And the woman, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, There is a son born to Naomi. And they called his name Obed.
Called this name. So Ruth's child's name was Obed. Watch this.
He is the father of Jesse, the father of David.
That's why Ruth matters. Because she brought David into the world. This is David's great-great-grandmother, the king of Israel. That's why Ruth is written here. Not because she's some special lady. No. She is David's great-grandmother. That's it. She gave birth to Obed, who gave birth to Jesse, who had David. That's it. Read on. Go on, say it. Keep going.
Now, these are the generations of Pharez.
Pharez is the twins that Tamar had. That Tamar, remember Judah slept with, thought she was a prostitute? And said she had twins. This is one of them. You had Pharez and Zerah. These are the twins. So when Tamar got pregnant by Judah, thinking she was a prostitute, when she got pregnant, she had twins, Pharez and Zerah. Read verse 18 again.
Now, these are the generations of Pharez. Pharez begot Hezron.
So out of the twin boys, the Lord dealt with Pharez. Pharez had Hezron. Go ahead.
And Hezron begot Ram.
Hezron begot Ram.
And Ram begot Amminadab.
Ram begot Amminadab.
And Amminadab begot Nahshon. And Nahshon begat Salmon. And Salmon begot Boaz. And Boaz begat Obed.
Do Ruth. Go ahead.
And Obed begat Jesse. And Jesse begat David.
That's why Ruth is mentioned at all, because she was responsible for bringing a child into the world who eventually brought forth our King David, the royal lineage. That's it. It's about royalty. That's what it's about. Not because Ruth was special. Ooh, Ruth. Christians use it all the time. Ooh, Ruth. Oh, she's pure. No. She was property. She was used to raise up seed, and that seed just so happened to bring a king into the world. That's it. That's all. That's it. But Israel was not supposed to marry Moabite women. But the Lord said, well, whatever. I'll use her for that.
Black people now use her for Ruth waited for Boaz.
Right. Ruth waited for Boaz. That's no.
They're always having the stupid memes. Every time I see it on the internet, I say, oh, gosh, here it goes.
Here we go.
Black people.
Black people. Give me Genesis 41, 45. That's why the Bible talks about Ruth, because she was instrumental in David coming into the world. That's it. You messed up. Genesis 41, verse 45 to 46.
The book of Genesis, chapter 41, verse 45. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zephnath-Paneah.
I'm sorry. I got to read again.
And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zephnath-Paneah. And he gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar.
So Pharaoh gave Joseph a new name and gave him Asenath, the daughter of who?
The daughter of Potiphar. Potiphar, priest of On. And Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt.
So Joseph was given an Egyptian wife. Now, where were the Hebrew women in Egypt at this time? Huh? Where were the Hebrew women in Egypt at this time? There were none. There were none. They were in Canaan. There was no Hebrew women in the land this time. None. Read verse 46.
And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt.
So Joseph was sold off into slavery at 17. Now he's 30. So he's above a decade in Egypt. So Joseph married a heathen woman, but he got a pardon. He's in a land where there's no Hebrew women. None. Read again, 46.
And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land of Egypt.
So he was in Egypt in this time, going on 13 years. This is 13 years later. He was given this woman as his wife. He's 30 now. He was sold off by his brothers at 17. He's 30, and he's 13 years later. Give me Acts 7:23 now. We're going to read when Moses fled from Egypt. How old was Moses when he fled from Egypt? How old was he? Let's see. Acts 7:23.
The book of Acts, chapter 7, verse 23. And when he was full 40 years, it came.
He was what?
When he was full 40 years.
Moses is 40 years old. Go ahead.
it came into his heart to visit his brethren, the children of Israel.
Right. So he visited his brothers. One of them got into a fight. He stopped it. They said, "Who made you a judge over us? You're gonna kill me. You killed the Egyptian," and that's when he ran. So at 40 years old, he fled from Egypt. At 40 years old, he fled. Y'all understand? At 40 years old, he fled from Egypt. Now, get Exodus 7 and 7. Let's see when he returned. Let's see how old he was when he returned to Egypt. So he dwelt with Jethro and them, or he dwelt outside of Egypt. Let's see how long. Exodus 7 and 7.
The book of Exodus, chapter 7, verse 7. And Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron 83 years old, when they spake unto Pharaoh.
So he returned to Egypt at 80 years old. He was away for 40 years. His people were in Egypt now. There were no Israelite women in where he was at. He was away for 40 years. So he married this woman. He married a heathen woman. Was he supposed to marry heathen women? No. Was Joseph? No. But there were certain situations the Lord said he pardoned it. Numbers 12 and 1. Now, again, the doctrine is you can only marry, you cannot marry the nations in Deuteronomy 7 and 1. Outside of them, you can. Okay, watch this. Numbers 12 and 1.
The book of Numbers, chapter 12, verse 1. And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married. For he had married an Ethiopian woman.
Stop. Why would Miriam and Aaron complain about him marrying an Ethiopian woman if it was okay? What complaint could they have if that's a lawful, if that's okay to do that? That means through tradition they knew you were not supposed to marry this woman. Otherwise they'd have no complaint. That means it was known you were not supposed to marry heathens. Period. Ethiopian is not listed in Deuteronomy 7, 1 to 3. So what's Miriam and Aaron's problem? Now, were they wrong in their complaint? No, but it was not Miriam's place to speak against Moses or Aaron's. But she was a ringleader, so she got checked the worst. But while they make mention or complain about an Ethiopian woman, if that's okay, it doesn't violate Deuteronomy 7 and 1. That doctrine doesn't make any sense. Let's read the verse 9. Read on verse 1 to 9. Read on.
Yes, sir. Verse 2. And they said.
No, jump to verse 6. Jump to verse 6. Let me read all that. Jump to verse 6.
Verse 6. And he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all my house.
That's this.
With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches. And the similitude of the Lord shall he behold.
Go ahead.
Wherefore, then were you not afraid to speak against thy servant Moses?
Who the hell are you to talk against Moses? I deal with him directly. I don't talk to you directly. That's none of your business about his wife. That's my business. I deal with Moses. He was checking Miriam and Aaron.
And Deacon, why did the Most High intervene and say something before when Moses brought, Zipporah, inside the camp?
Right.
So showing you that there's a spirit of envy going on, even within IUIC. Right. There's certain sins that'll be committed. Certain brothers will be shown mercy over other brothers. You said, why is this? Why this brother get more mercy than this other brother? And Most High said, be quiet.
Right.
I'll have mercy on whom I'll have mercy on.
Right.
It's none of your business.
Exactly.
So Mary and Aaron was off code.
Right, they were off code, right.
Very much
out of
off
pocket.
Code. Out of pocket.
Out of pocket. Verse 9.
And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed.
Right. So now let's go to Esther 2:16. So Moses married who he married. Remember, Moses married her. Now is that so the Most High let it ride. Let it go.
The book of Esther, chapter 2, verse 16. So Esther was taken unto King Ahasuerus, and to his house royal in the 10th month, which is the month of Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther above all the women,
Right.
and she obtained grace and favor in his sight, more than all the virgins. so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti.
All right, now jump. So Esther became queen. Jump to chapter 4, verse 13. Why she become queen? Because Haman, that evil Edomite, was going to use the Persian king to destroy Israel. So the Lord raised up Esther to fight against him. That's queen. Chapter 4, verse 13.
The book of Esther, chapter 4, verse 13. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, and think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews.
Esther forgot her place. She's a queen. And Mordecai said, listen, man, listen. Don't let your queenship get to your head. The Most High will destroy you. The reason why you're behind as a queen is because the Most High is using you to help deliver us out of Haman's evil plot to have us all killed. That's your place. That's why you're the queen in the first place. Read again.
Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews.
Watch this.
For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time,
You choose to stay out of this problem, out of this issue that Haman's gonna have us killed. If you choose to stay out of it, go ahead.
then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place.
Then what? Enlargement and what?
For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance.
And the what?
Deliverance.
And deliverance. Esther was a deliverer. Esther was used to help Israel be saved from the evil plot of Haman to have us all killed off. That's why she was allowed to marry the king. Israelite women aren't supposed to marry heathens at all. But the Lord had to have it so to help deliver us out of the hands of the Persian king's order from Haman. That was her purpose. If you're going to justify Moses, who was also a deliverer, marrying an Ethiopian woman, and that's okay, then you can justify the black woman marrying a heathen man with Esther. It goes both ways. You can't justify one and not the other. Neither one's supposed to be done, but for the Most High had a purpose for both. You can't use these examples to go, yeah, you can keep your heathen. No. No, no, no. Read again. Verse 14 again.
For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed.
Most High going to kill you. Go ahead.
And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this?
That's the reason why she was made queen for that time. The time at Haman, you read Esther, Haman and the Edomite, you plotted to have all the Jews killed based upon his anger towards Mordecai. So the Lord raised up Esther to be made queen to assist Israel in not being destroyed at the hands of the Persians and Edom. That was her whole purpose. But was she supposed to marry a heathen king? No. But that was her purpose for that time, such as that. That's what Mordecai is telling her. Because for a split second, she forgot who she was. She forgot what she was supposed to do. You had to remind her, listen, don't get ahead of yourself. The Most High will kill you and have somebody else save us. Now get chapter 14. See how she felt about being queen. Chapter 14, the Apocrypha. That's the rest of Esther. 14, verse 1, and we're going to go to verse 15 and 16. The rest of Esther, chapter 14. And we're going to go to verse 1. I got to find it. I think it's small.
The rest of Esther in the Apocrypha, chapter 14. You start at verse 1.
Damn, you found it? Hold on a second. Yeah, I'm going to read that. Oh, man. Hold on. Let me get it. It's before Ecclesiastes, right?
Before Wisdom of Solomon.
Oh, snap. Thank you. I got it. Go ahead. 14 verse 1. 14:1. Terrible.
The rest of Esther in the Apocrypha, chapter 14, verse 1. Queen Esther also, being in fear of death, resorted unto the Lord.
So I stand up prayers. Now jump down to verse 15 regarding her prayer. Watch what she says. 15.
Verse 15. Thou knowest all things, O Lord. Thou knowest that I hate the glory of the unrighteous.
That's Haman and the Persian king. Go ahead.
And abhor the bed of the uncircumcised.
I'm not happy. I got to sleep with this dude. I'm not happy with this. But she knew her role. Go ahead.
And of all the heathen.
and of all the heathen. Go ahead.
Thou knowest.
She abhors the bed of the uncircumcised and all the heathen. Go ahead.
Thou knowest my necessity, for I abhor the sign of my high estate,
I hate being queen. I'm not happy being queen. Go ahead.
which is upon my head, in the days wherein I show myself, and that I abhor it as a minstrel's rag,
Damn. Go ahead.
and that I wear it not when I am private by
When
myself.
she's by herself, she takes all that Persian stuff off. She was unhappy. But for the sake of her people, she had to take the L. Had to marry him to deliver Israel from the hands of Haman. But she was not a happy woman in that situation. But she knew the Lord had raised her up for that purpose. Mordecai reminded her of that. But she wasn't happy with that heathen man. No more than a woman, Israel woman today. She'd be happy with a heathen man today. Should not be happy. Give me Exodus 33, verse 19. Exodus 33, verse 19.
The book of Exodus, chapter 33, verse 19. And he said, I will make all my goodness pass before thee,
Right. So this is the Father talking to Moses, the Heavenly Father now. Go ahead.
and I will proclaim the name of the Lord before thee, and I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious,
I'll be gracious to whom I'll be gracious. Go ahead.
and I will show mercy on whom I will show mercy.
See that? That's why Moses can keep his wife. Joseph kept his. I will have show mercy to whom I show mercy. The Most High is the one that gives the pardons. He could have killed Reuben for what he did. Reuben committed an act worthy of death. Likewise, our forefathers sold Joseph into slavery. That was an act worthy of death. An act worthy of death. An act worthy of death. We were not supposed to be doing those things. The Lord said, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy. Paul got it from in Romans 9. Paul is quoting Exodus 33 and 19. Get 2 Samuel 5 and 12. Second Samuel 5 and 12.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 5, verse 12. And David perceived that the Lord had established him king over Israel, and that he had exalted his kingdom for his people Israel's sake.
All right.
And David took him more concubines and wives out of Jerusalem after he was come from Hebron. And there were yet sons and daughters born to David.
Right. So he had took him more concubines and wives. So David took him a bunch of concubines. Was he supposed to have concubines? No, he wasn't. But he did. Because there were laws set in place that allowed him to do so. But he wasn't supposed to have concubines. He wasn't supposed to marry the other nations. David went to war. Remember, David went to war. So they took captives and did those things. The Lord, whatever. We weren't supposed to do that. Give me 1 Kings 15:5. I'm going to show you. I'm going to give an example. 1 Kings 15 and 5.
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 15, verse 5. Because David did that which was right in the eyes of the Lord, and turned not aside from anything that he commanded him all the days of his life,
Watch this.
save only in the matter of Uriah the Hittite.
The only fault the Lord found in David was him having that man killed for his wife, Bathsheba. When he had Uriah killed, remember what David did? David was in nigger mode. He did that. David messed around, slept with that woman, then tried to send brother home to make it appear as if he got her pregnant, then put him in the heat of the most hottest battle in the forefront, had him killed. This is all timed. All right? He had him killed, got her pregnant, all of that stuff. David was doing some evil stuff. The Lord said, the only thing I found fault with David when he did was that.
We didn't have the pregnancy test, so this didn't happen like 1 week later.
Right.
No, this happened over time. His guards knew what he was doing, so.
She knew what she was doing too.
And Deacon, the only reason why we're having this discussion on interracial marriage is because within the black community, you see this issue, an ongoing problem.
Yep.
They said more than likely when you see the statistics, black men do want to marry within their race.
85% of us marry within our own race.
But
Speaking.
the issue is our inability to fix our women or fix the issues between the two, men as well as women. So that's why they say, you know what? Instead of dealing with the problems, the issues, and fixing my race, I'm going to go outside.
Right.
Where the other men have their women in check. They're in order. Chinese women, Arabs. They're in subjection to the men. So black men don't want to work anymore.
Right. 1 Kings 11, verse 1.
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 11, verse 1. But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites.
These nations are, some nations here are listed. One nation is listed here in Deuteronomy 7. One. Out of these nations here that he loved. Go ahead.
Of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go into them.
So these nations, the Lord said, do not go in unto them. That includes Moab, which is not mentioned in Deuteronomy 7. Edom, not mentioned. Zidonians, not mentioned. They're not mentioned. Egyptians, not mentioned. The Lord said, don't go into them. Abraham went into one. Joseph went into one. But they weren't supposed to. But the Lord had mercy on whom he had mercy. Read on.
Ye shall not go in. You shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you. For surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love.
Go ahead, verse 3.
And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines.
Keep that in mind. All these wives and concubines he had. Go ahead.
And his wives turned away his heart.
He went the hell off. Go ahead.
For it came to pass, when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods. And his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father.
Read on.
For Solomon.
Verse 8. Go ahead.
For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites.
Right. He built chapels for them. Watch this.
And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord, as did David his father.
Because David did whatever the Lord asked him to do. Go ahead.
Then said Solomon, build an high place for Chemosh, then abomination of Moab in the hill that is before
So he
Jerusalem.
built the high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab. Go ahead.
And for Molech,
He built the high place for Molech too. Go ahead.
the abomination of the children of
For
Ammon.
the other wife. Go ahead.
And likewise did he for all his strange wives,
So he built high places for all his heathen wives. Go ahead.
which burnt incense and sacrifice unto their gods.
Stop there. Now, give me Deuteronomy 17, verse 14. This is the law. Watch this. Lord that told you to do something that you shouldn't be doing. Deuteronomy 17, verse 13. No, verse 14 to 17.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 17, verse 14. When thou art come unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shalt possess it, and shalt dwell therein, and shalt say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother.
Hold on. Read again. Verse 14 again.
Verse 14. When thou art come unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shalt possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shall say, I will set a king over me,
So I will set a king over me. Go ahead.
like as all the nations that are about me.
So Israel, the law was Israel wants a king like all the nations that are round about you. This is the law. Go ahead.
Thou shalt anywise set him king over thee,
Go ahead.
whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren
Your own people.
shalt thou set king over thee.
Go ahead.
Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother.
Not your own. Go ahead. Watch this verse 16.
But he shall not multiply horses to himself,
He cannot multiply horses to himself. Go ahead.
nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horses.
Go ahead.
For as much as the Lord hath said unto you, ye shall henceforth return no more that way.
Watch 17.
Neither shall he multiply wives to himself.
Did Solomon do that? Did Solomon do that? Did David do that? Go ahead. Go ahead.
That his heart turn not away. Neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold.
Did Solomon do that? Yes, he did. He multiplied silver and gold. He multiplied wives unto himself. He did all of that stuff. These are things he was not supposed to do. Watch. Let's go to 1 Samuel 8. 1 Samuel 8, verse 1.
The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 8, verse 1. And it came to pass, when Samuel was old, that he made his sons judges over Israel. Now the name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second Abiah. They were judges in Beersheba, and his sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after lucre, and took bribes, and perverted judgment.
Go ahead.
Then all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together, and came to Samuel unto Ramah,
Go ahead.
and said unto him, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations.
Stop. So Israel said, make us a king to judge us like all the nations. And that's in the law, right? Is that in the law? Watch this. Read on.
And said unto him, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways.
Samuel's sons are wicked. Go ahead.
Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations.
Watch this.
But the thing displeased Samuel when they said, Give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed unto the Lord.
Why did it displease Samuel? Why? Is it in the law? Why did it displease Samuel if it's in the law? Anyone have an idea why? Yeah.
Because the Most High is our king.
Thank you. Because the Lord's our king. We didn't need no king. We already had a king in the heavens. Israel is a theocracy. It's a God-governed people. So Samuel was upset, but that's in the law. So why is that law there? Because that law was put there because the Lord knew Israel would be rebellious and want a king like the nations. That's why it says like the nations in the law. So there were laws put in place based upon our what? Rebellion. Based upon us being wicked as hell. The law wasn't there for righteousness' sake. We didn't need a human king over us. We had a king over us in heaven. That was enough. Israel said, no, we want a king like the nations. And the law says if you want a king over you like the nations, he can't do A, B, and C. What did they do? A, B, and C. So it says that displeased Samuel. Why would it displease Samuel if it's according to the law? Likewise, if we tell you can't have heathen women, even though it's in the law, why would it displease us? Because it wasn't supposed to be done. It wasn't supposed to happen. But it's a law written there for the wickedness of Israel. Likewise, a divorce, the same thing. It shouldn't have been done, but it was put there because Israel was wicked as hell. The same for the concubines, the same for the divorce, the same for the king. Negro laws, N-word laws, that's what they are. Laws to regulate N-words. That's what it's for. Read on.
Verse 7.
Verse 7.
Verse 7. And the Lord said unto Samuel,
Watch this.
Hearken unto the voice of the people in all that they say unto thee.
Watch this.
For they have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over
That's
them.
the laws for. See what the Lord said? They rejecting me. Don't be mad at them. They rejected me so that I can't reign over them. They want a man to reign over them. And there's a law there's a law put in there that justifies it. Because the Lord knew in the future they would not want him to reign over them. He knew in the future that they were going to put away their wives if there was no law. They were going to take heathen women even if there was no law. They would do it anyway. So there were laws put in place for Israel to do it when they were not supposed to do it. We didn't need no human king. We had a king already in heaven. We're good. We're going to have a heavenly king again. Read on.
Verse 8. According to all the works which they have done since the day that I brought them up out of Egypt, even unto this day, wherewith they have forsaken me and served other gods, so do they also unto thee.
Right, they reject you also. Go ahead.
Now therefore hearken unto their voice. Howbeit, yet protest solemnly unto them, and show them the manner of the king that shall reign over them.
So before you honor their request, remind them of what kind of king they're going to have over them as a man that reigns over them, what he's going to do when he reigns over them. Give them an idea of what kind of man he'll be. Watch this.
And he said, This will be the man of the king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them for himself, for his chariots, and to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots. And he will appoint him captains over thousands, and captains over 50s, and will set them to ear his ground, and to reap his harvest, and to make his instruments of war and instruments of his chariots.
Meaning your children will work for him. There's a war, your children will fight with him. They'll be drafted. That's what he's talking about. Your children will be subject to the king. Watch this. Read on.
And he will take your daughters to be confectionaries, and to be cooks, and to be bakers.
Your daughters are going to take care of him in the kingdom also. They're going to be his cooks and so forth. Watch this.
And he will take your fields and your vineyards and your olive yards, even the best of them, and give them to his servants.
He's going to take parts of your land. Because he's a king now. He's going to take your land too. Portions of your land. Go ahead.
And he will take the tenth of your seed and of your vineyards, and give to his officers and to his servants.
He's going to tax you. Who takes care of the king? The people. The king lives off of the people. When he wants to eat, he's going to use you. When he wants to drink, he's going to use you. When he wants land, he's going to take yours. The king lives off of the people. Go ahead.
Verse 16. And he will take your men servants and your maid servants and your goodliest young men and your asses, and put them to his work. He will take the tenth of your sheep, and ye shall be his servants.
He will tithe you. Take tithes from you. Go ahead.
And ye shall cry out in that day because of your king, which ye have chosen.
You're going to complain about him. Go ahead.
And the Lord will not hear you
He
in
ain't
that
listening
day.
to you. He ain't going to listen to you.
Nevertheless,
The king's going to be an a-hole, is what he's saying. He's going to rise, he's going to take advantage of you. That's what he's saying. That's what men do. Go ahead.
nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel.
See? They ain't listening. They didn't care. Black people, well, you don't care. We'll deal with it. Go ahead.
And they said, nay, but we will have a king over us, that we also may be like all the nations.
That what?
That we also may be like all the nations.
That's why. We envy the nations. Go ahead.
And that our king may judge us and go out before us and fight our battles.
Go ahead.
And Samuel heard all the words of the people, and he rehearsed them in the ears of the Lord. And the Lord said to Samuel, hearken unto their voice, and make them a king. And Samuel said unto the men of Israel, go ye every man unto his city.
All right, get out of here. Go. Fine. Samuel wasn't happy with that thing, but it was in the law. But the law was put there because the Lord knew in the future we would desire to be like the other nations and want a king to reign over us rather than our God reign over us. So just because it's in the law doesn't mean it's supposed to be done. Divorce is in the law doesn't mean it's supposed to take place. Concubines is there and it mean it's supposed to happen. A king reign over you, not supposed to happen. Now I'm going to explain what I mean by king not supposed to happen. I'm going to explain what that means when I say not supposed to happen as far as a king. Give me Psalms 24, verse 7. Because when he said, I reign over you. He said they rejected me because they don't want me to reign over them. Psalms 24 and verse 7. I want to explain what he meant when he said they don't want me to reign over them. Psalms 24, verse 7.
The book of Psalms, chapter 24, verse 7. Lift up your heads, O ye gates, and be ye lift up, ye everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in.
King of glory is the Lord. Go ahead.
Who is this King of glory? The Lord strong and mighty, the Lord mighty in battle.
He's our king. Go ahead.
Lift up your heads, O ye gates, even lift them up, ye everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in.
Go ahead.
Who is this King of glory? The Lord of hosts, he is the King of glory.
Selah. So the Lord is our king. We didn't want a heavenly king. We wanted an earthly king because Israel is simple as hell and rebellious and love the nation. Give me Psalms 2, verse 6. Psalms 2, 6.
The book of Psalms, chapter 2, verse 6.
And the Most High is the genius. The Most High said, okay, I'm going to give you an earthly king. I'm going to give you an earthly king, but before I do that, I'm going to anoint him king over you in heaven first. Psalms 2, verse 6. Watch this.
Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. The Lord have said unto me,
This is Christ speaking through David in this psalm. Go ahead.
thou art my son. This day have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession.
Go ahead.
Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel.
Right.
Be wise now, therefore, O ye kings.
Kings is Israelites. We're the kings. And Christ is the King of kings. Go ahead.
Be instructed, you judges of the earth.
Be instructed judges of the earth, referring to us, the leaders. So now, so he said, I'm going to set a king, my king, upon my holy hill of Zion, right? This is the Father speaking to the Son in heaven. I'll make you their king. Now, give me Isaiah 9 and 6 to 7. The Lord was already our king in heaven. So the Lord said, I got something. What I'll do is I'll make him your king in heaven, and then I'm going to send him on earth. He'll be your king on earth too. Covering both ways. The Most High is a genius. Isaiah 9 and 6.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 9, verse 6. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder.
He'll be the king. Go ahead.
And his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace.
Verse 7.
Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end, upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform
The
this.
Lord is such a genius. The Lord had it where in heaven he's our king, and the Lord had it where he would come into the line of kings to be our king on earth too. So the Christ is our king regardless. He's our king in heaven, and he's our king on earth because he came into the line of kings on earth. So the Lord had it covered. Okay, you're going to be king regardless. You're going to be their king whether you're in heaven. You're going to be their king whether you're on earth. You're going to be their king regardless. And then the kingdom is going to be our king, period. God will be over us once again because the Messiah is God. He's God the Son. But God will be over us once again in the kingdom. Not just some mortal man, regular man. It will be God over us once again, as it always should be, and as it once was. In Micah 5 and 1.
The book of Micah, chapter 5, verse 1. Now gather thyself in troops, O daughter of troops. He have laid siege against us. They shall smite the judge of Israel with a rod upon the cheek. But thou Bethlehem, Ephrathah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me. That is,
out of who? Thousands of Judah. Go ahead.
yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me.
Out of Judah. Go ahead.
That is, to be ruler in Israel,
King. Go ahead.
whose goings forth have been from of old, from everlasting.
See that? So the Lord's going to send our king into the line of kings of Judah. The line of Judah. To be our earthly king. Give me Nehemiah 2 and 10 now. Nehemiah 2:10.
The book of Nehemiah, chapter 2, verse 10. When Sanballat, the Horonite,
Sanballat the Horonite. Keep the name in mind. Sanballat the Horonite. Go ahead.
and Tobiah, the servant, the Ammonites,
Tobiah was an Ammonite.
heard of it, it grieved them exceedingly that there was come a man to seek the welfare of the children of
You
Israel.
were mad that Nehemiah showed up to be a leader over Israel during this time, during the reconstruction period of the Persian captivity. All right? Of the temple and so forth on the walls. Sanballat the Horonite and Tobiah the Ammonite were upset. Jump to verse 18.
Verse 18. Then I told them of the hand of my God, which was good upon me, as also the king's words that he had spoken unto me. And they said, let us arise up and build. So they strengthened their hands for this good work.
Go ahead.
But when Sanballat the Horonite and Tobiah the servant, the Ammonite, and Geshem the Arabian
Keep that in mind. Geshem the Arabian,
heard
Tobiah
it,
Sanballat the Horonite, Tobiah the Ammonite, and Geshem the Arabian. Go ahead.
heard it, they laughed us to
He
scorn
mocked us. Go ahead.
and despised us and said, what is this thing that ye do? Will ye rebel against the king?
Verse 20.
Then answered I them and said unto them, the God of heaven, he will prosper us. Therefore we his servants will arise and build. But ye have no portion, nor right, nor memorial in Jerusalem.
Meaning God ain't dealing with you nations. We don't need you. We're going to build on our own. We don't need no nations to help us build anything. That's what Nehemiah is saying to them. Now, jump to chapter 3, verse 1.
Nehemiah chapter 3, verse 1. Then Eliashib, the high priest, rose up with his brethren, the priests, and they builded the sheep gate. They sanctified it and set up the doors of it, even unto the tower of Maya. They sanctified it unto the tower of Hananel.
So Eliashib, the high priest, helped build the walls. Nehemiah and them were helping to fortify and build the walls and gates that Zerubbabel and Joshua were working on. But they built the temple and some of the walls, and Nehemiah and Ezra came to continue in that work. All right? Give me Nehemiah 4:1. Keep those names in mind. Sanballat the Horonite, Tobiah the Ammonite, and Geshem the Arabian. Nehemiah 4:1.
The book of Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 1.
Remember Eliashib too. Go ahead.
But it came to pass that when Sanballat heard that we builded the wall,
Sanballat the Horonite, same guy. Go ahead.
he was wroth and took great indignation and mocked the Jews.
Again, go ahead.
And he spake before his brethren and the army of Samaria and said, what do these feeble Jews? Will they fortify themselves? Will they sacrifice? Will they make an end in a day? Will they revive the stones out of the heaps of the rubbish which are burned? Now Tobiah the Ammonite was by him.
Tobiah the Ammonite. Keep in mind, go ahead.
And he said, even that which they build, if a fox go up, he shall even break down their stone wall. Hear, O our God, for we are despised, and turn their reproach upon their own head, and give them for a prey in the land of captivity.
Go ahead.
And cover not their iniquity, and let not their sin be blotted out from before thee. For they have provoked thee to anger before the builders. So built we the wall, and all the wall was joined together unto the half thereof. For the people had a mind to work.
Had a mind to work. Go ahead.
But it came to pass that when Sanballat
the Horonite,
and Tobiah
the Ammonite,
and the Arabians,
Geshem's boys, Geshem's people,
and the Ammonites,
more,
and the Ashdodites, heard that the walls of Jerusalem were made up, and that the breaches began to be stopped, then they were very wroth.
They were pissed off. Go ahead.
And conspired all of them together to come and to fight against Jerusalem and to hinder it.
Sanballat and Tobiah and Geshem and them conspired together to destroy us, to fight against us while we were trying to rebuild Jerusalem. Now, go to chapter 5, verse 9.
Nehemiah,
5, verse 9.
book of Nehemiah, chapter 5, verse 9. Also I said, it is not good that ye do. Ought ye not to walk in the fear of our God because of the reproach of the heathen, our enemies?
What are the heathen?
Our
The
enemies.
heathen are our enemies. All of them. All of them. Even the ones you sleep with. Enemies. Get chapter 6 and 1.
Nehemiah chapter 6, verse 1. Now it came to pass when Sanballat
The Horonite,
and Tobiah
the Ammonite, go ahead.
and Geshem, the Arabian, and the rest of our enemies
Ammonites, Ashdodites, same people, go ahead.
heard that I had builded the wall, and that there was no breach left therein, though at that time I had not set up the doors upon the gates. That Sanballat and Geshem sent unto me, saying, come, let us meet together in some one of the villages in the plain of Ono. But they thought to do me mischief. And I sent messengers unto them, saying, I am doing a great work, so that I cannot come down.
I don't have time to talk to you. Go ahead.
Why should the work cease whilst I leave it and come down to you? Yet they sent unto me 4 times after this sort, and I answered them after the same manner.
I ain't got time to talk to you. 4 more times. Go ahead.
Then sent Sanballat his servant unto me in like manner, the 5th time, with an open letter in his hand,
Damn.
wherein was written, it is reported among the heathen, and Gashmu saith it, that thou and the Jews think to rebel, for which cause thou buildest the wall, that thou mayest be their king, according to these words.
Go ahead.
And thou hast also appointed prophets to preach of thee at Jerusalem, saying, there is a king in Judah, and now shall it be reported to the king according to these words? Come now, therefore, and let us take counsel together. Then I sent unto him, saying, there are no such things done as thou sayest, but thou feignest them out of thy own heart.
You're a liar. I ain't being said. You know I ain't being said. Go ahead.
For they all made us afraid, saying, their hands shall be weakened from the work, that it be not done.
Right.
Now therefore, O God, strengthen my hands.
Watch this.
Afterwards, I came unto the house of Shemaiah, the son of Delaiah, the son of Mahatabeel, who was shut up. And he said, let us meet together in the house of God, within the temple, and let us shut the doors of the temple, for they will come to slay thee. Yea, in the night will they come to slay thee.
Someone's going to kill you. Go ahead. Shemaiah is saying someone's going to come and kill you. Go ahead.
Verse 11. And I said, should such a man as I flee? And who is there that being as I am would go into the temple to save his life?
Why should I run? What kind of man would I be to run away, to save myself? I'm not doing that. Go ahead.
I would not go in.
I will not go and hide in the temple. Go ahead.
And
With
lo,
you.
I perceive that God had not sent him,
God ain't done with this guy. But for that kind of advice, God ain't dealing with him. Go ahead.
but that he pronounced this prophecy against me, for Tobiah and Sanballat had hired him.
See? Tobiah and Sanballat, Tobiah the Ammonite and Sanballat the Horonite, hired this dude to set Nehemiah up. These guys are wicked as hell. Watch this.
Therefore was he hired,
He was paid. Go ahead.
that I should be afraid and do so and sin, and that they might have matter for an evil report, that they might reproach me.
Go ahead.
My God, think thou upon Tobiah and Sanballat, according to these their works, and on the prophetess Noadiah, and the rest of the prophets that would have put me in
They
fear.
got a woman involved too. They involved the sister too. Try to set Nehemiah up. Noadiah. These guys are the worst. Sanballat the Horonite and Tobiah the Ammonite. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Now, let's get chapter 12, verse 10. Remember Eliashib in chapter 3, verse 1. Nehemiah 12 and 10.
The book of Nehemiah, chapter 12, verse 10. And Jeshua begat Joachim, and Joachim also begat Eliashib, and Eliashib begat Joiada.
So Eliashib begat Joiada. Eliashib, who was the high priest, begat Joiada. Now, keep that in mind. Go to chapter 13, verse 1.
The book of Nehemiah, chapter 13, verse 1. On that day, they read in the book of Moses in the audience of the people, and therein was found written that the Ammonite and the Moabite should not come unto the congregation of God forever,
The Ammonite and the Moabite should not come unto the congregation of God forever. Watch this.
because they met not the children of Israel with bread and with water, but hired Balaam against them,
But hired Balaam against us. Go ahead.
that he should curse them. Howbeit, our God turned the curse into a blessing.
And then we killed him. Balaam. Go ahead.
Now it came to pass, when they had heard the law, that they separated from Israel all the mixed
We
multitude.
got rid of the nations that were among us. We got rid of them. Go ahead.
And before this, Eliashib,
Now, before this took place, before this happened, this law came out to remove them from us. Watch this.
Eliashib the priest,
Remember Eliashib. Eliashib is the father of Joiada. Watch this. Go ahead.
having the oversight of the chamber of the house of our God, was allied unto Tobiah.
Eliashib, the priest, having oversight of the chamber of the house of our God, was allied unto Tobiah. Eliashib was helping build the walls, but he was allied with Tobiah the Ammonite. Allied, it's coonery going on. Allies with the enemy. Go ahead.
Verse 5. And he had prepared for him a great chamber, where aforetime they laid the meat offerings, the frankincense, and the vessels, and the tithes of which, and the tithes of the corn, the new wine, and the oil, which was commanded to be given to the Levites, and the singers, and the porters, and the offerings of the priests.
So he had Tobiah living in the temple. Tobiah the Ammonite was living in the temple. Eliashib and him was cool. He gave Tobiah the Ammonite a place to live in the temple before this law came out. Watch this.
But in all this time was not I at Jerusalem.
But when this took place, Nehemiah says, I wasn't there. Go ahead.
For in the 32nd year of Artaxerxes, king of Babylon, came I unto the king, and after certain days obtained I leave of the king.
Go ahead.
And I came to Jerusalem, and understood of the evil that Eliashib did for Tobiah, and prepare him a chamber in the courts of the house of God.
It was evil to have him an Ammonite instead of temple. They don't belong in there. Based upon verse 1, that law. Ammon and Moab aren't supposed to be up in there. Ever. Go ahead.
And it grieved me sore.
I was pissed. Watch this.
Therefore I cast forth all the household stuff of Tobiah out of the chamber.
He threw all the Tobiah stuff outside. Get this stuff out of here. He shouldn't be living up in here. He shouldn't be living in here. The Lord says he shouldn't be in here. The Lord says he should not be up in here. He threw his stuff out in the street. Nehemiah was gangster, man. Now give me verse 23 and 28. Verse 23, we're going to read down to 28.
The book of Nehemiah, chapter 13, verse 23.
Yep.
In those days also saw I Jews that had married wives of Ashdod, of Ammon, and of Moab.
These aren't in Deuteronomy 7. These are not listed in Deuteronomy 7. Wives of Ashdod, Ammon, and Moab. Go ahead.
And their children spake half in the speech of Ashdod, and could not speak in the Jews' language, but according to the language of each people.
So these children were being raised by their mothers. Fathered by Israelite men, but raised by their mamas. Raised in the custom or language of their mamas. Let me give you a prime example. You have men like Drake. Drake had bar mitzvahs. Raised Jewish by his mama. You have men like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Got the whole big Samoan thing on his chest. He's protesting over there in Hawaii about a volcano or some nonsense. Volcano, oh God, the volcano. They're going to build the pipe in the volcano. I'm like, who cares? But that's what his mind is. His mind is not on, he acknowledges he's a black man. He acknowledges that he's a black man, but his heart is towards his mother's line. Ben Diesel, same thing with him. Oh, I'm a man of color, his voice all niggerish. Yeah, I'm a man of colorish, man of color, I'm not particularly a nigga. I'm just, I'm in between nigga and, whatever it is I think I am. I don't know. Mariah Carey's one. Tiger Woods, I'm Camblin Asian. That was the worst thing he could have said in his life. I'm Camblin Asian. Camblin Asian? Some word he used, Camblin Asian. But he was raised, his mama was more influential in his life. His father influenced him in terms of playing golf, but in terms of culture wise, he was more of his mother. These are I call them mixed nuts. That's what I call them. When they got both parents interracial, but they retarded. They're just confused about what's going on, who they are. They don't know what's going on. I call them mixed nuts. That's what I call them. It was trail mix. How funny. Trail mix. Yeah, I call them that too. Trail mix. That's good. Trail mix. But they're raised, confused, don't know what's going on. Like you'll have some exceptions to the rule, like J. Cole. Like he says he doesn't really relate to his white side. He's more so relates to the black side. So you'll have the occasion. Or Halle Berry's mom told her, wherever you see in the mirror, that's what you walk. You can't pass for me. So you obviously Negro. So her mom gave her that enough sense to know she's a black woman also. But there's very few exceptions to the rule. The point is that in this instance here, the men had their wives leading the house, and the children couldn't even speak Hebrew. They were speaking the language of their heathen mothers, following the gods and customs of their heathen mothers. And the men was on damn standby. So Nehemiah was pissed. Read on.
Verse 25. And I contended with them.
Hold on. So he says that Nehemiah contended with them, meaning he argued with them. What was he arguing with them about? What was the argument about? Yeah. In the mic. Where is the mic?
Justin, he was arguing with them about the law between Deuteronomy 7 and 3, outlandish women.
Okay. Well, give me more.
Basically, how Solomon sinned against the Most High by marrying these women.
Nah, you're close. You followed the horse. You're close. What was the argument? What was the argument about? Somebody else. What were they arguing Nehemiah about? What was their argument? What was their counter? What was their argument for Nehemiah? So I'm asking. For him to contend with them, there was an argument back and forth with them having these heathen wives. What were they arguing with Nehemiah? What were they arguing? Who knows? Pass it over.
Shalom, leaders.
Shalom.
They weren't speaking the language of the Jews.
No. Something else. Pass it up. What was their argument?
They were trying to use Solomon as an excuse.
Thank you. They were using Solomon. They were using Abraham. They were using David. They were using Joseph. They were using Esther. They did it. Why can't we do it? That was a contention. They had heathen wives. Why can't we have heathen wives too? They were doing it. Solomon was doing it. So what? These were their arguments. So read on, watch. Very good. He contended with them. Watch this.
And I contended with them, and cursed them, and smote certain of them.
So what happened? The argument turned into him whipping their ass. Because they kept arguing. He got tired of talking and started beating them up. Solomon could have him. Bow! You ain't Solomon, nigga. You ain't David. You ain't Moses. He started laying hands on them. Niggas get you mad. Niggas get you mad. They make you hurt them. I'm telling you. Nehemiah got tired of talking to them. I'm tired of talking to y'all. Punch him in the throat. Pop. Ain't got time to talk to you. Now you're choking. See, now you can't breathe now. Look at you. Read again.
And I contended with them, and cursed them, and smote certain of them, and plucked off their hair.
Started pulling their beard off. Beating them up. Nehemiah started laying hands on people. He got tired of them. Go ahead.
And made them swear by God, saying, Ye shall not give your daughters unto their sons, nor take their daughters unto your sons, all for yourselves.
He's quoting Deuteronomy 7. The nations listed here aren't in there. That means all of them. You're not supposed to lay with any of them. Read on.
Did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin by these things?
He's telling you. Yes, Solomon did it, but it was a sin. He shouldn't have been doing it. He wasn't supposed to do that. Read on.
Yet among many nations was there no king like him, who was beloved of his God, and God made him king over all Israel.
Watch this.
Nevertheless,
Despite God loving him, him being no king like him, there be no king like him. Go ahead.
even him did outlandish women cause to sin.
Run off because of him. Because the Lord tells you when you marry them, they'll make you go off. It's inevitable. Go ahead.
Shall we then hearken unto you to do all this great evil, to transgress against our God in marrying strange wives?
Shall we listen to you? Should I follow your example of marrying strange wives? No. Should I follow behind your example of marrying strange wives? No. We're not supposed to marry the other nations. If it was okay, Nehemiah couldn't fight nobody about it. You're not supposed to do it. Now remember, these people came back from captivity. They returned from captivity with these wives. They didn't go to war for these women. These weren't captives here. We came out of captivity. We just came from captivity under the Babylonians. So these weren't concubines. These are wives we got with in exile. We couldn't use concubines at the time because we weren't going to war as a nation anymore. We were all scattered everywhere. Ephraim was among the Assyrians. They were scattered already. So they couldn't use that law. They were just banging heathen women in places of exile, like we do today. Marry heathens women while in exile. We're in exile now. So Nehemiah was beating them behind. I'm tired of y'all. What are you marrying them for? Not supposed to marry them. Solomon went off by doing that. You should not be marrying them. Read on.
So, verse 27. Shall we then hearken unto you to do all this great evil?
All this what?
Great evil.
It's great evil to marry the other nations. Read on.
To transgress against our God in marrying strange wives.
28.
And one of the sons of Joiada, the son of Eliashib, the high priest.
So Eliashib's son Joiada. Remember Joiada? Joiada had a son. Joiada. So this is Eliashib's grandson. Okay, watch this.
And one of the sons of Joiada, the son of Eliashib, the high priest, was son-in-law to Sanballat the Horonite.
Look at that. Sanballat, the guy who was trying to destroy us, was married to an Israelite woman. How crazy that is? So you got a heathen married to an Israelite woman trying to destroy Israelite men and destroy the building. Watch this. Read on.
Therefore I chased them from me.
See what Nehemiah did? Nehemiah started chasing that dude. Wait, whoa. That's your your son-in-law? He started chasing that dude. Try to lay hands on him too. That dude tried to destroy us. And that's your son, that's your son-in-law? You gave that man to your daughter? Nehemiah tried to beat this dude's behind, so he chased him from him. Nehemiah didn't play games with Israel. He didn't play with them. Give me on Ezra 9:1. Ezra 9:1.
The book of Ezra, chapter 9, verse 1. Now, when these things were done, the princes came to me, saying, the people of Israel and the priests and the Levites have not separated themselves from the people of the lands, doing according to their abominations, even of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Ammonites, the Moabites.
Wait. Read again.
Now, when these things were done, the princes came to me, saying, the people of Israel and the priests and the Levites have not separated themselves from the people of the lands.
Now, Nehemiah and Ezra at the same time. So he's telling you what's taking place in between Nehemiah and Ezra. Same thing. Go ahead. Same time. Go ahead.
Doing according to their abominations, even of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Egyptians, and the Amorites.
Verse 2.
For they have taken of their daughters for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the people of those lands. Yea, the hand of the princes and rulers have been chief in this trespass.
In this what?
In this trespass.
This sin. Doing so. Right, read on.
And when I heard this thing, I rent my garment and my mantle, and plucked off the hair of my head and one of my beard, and sat down astonished.
Go ahead. Verse 4.
Then were assembled unto me every one that trembled at the words of the God of Israel, because of the transgression of those that had been carried away. And I sat astonished until the evening sacrifice.
Stop there. Go to verse 10.
Verse 10. And now, O our God, what shall we say after this? For we have forsaken thy commandments, which thou hast commanded by thy servants, the prophets, saying, the land unto which ye go to possess it is an unclean land, with the filthiness of the people of the lands, with their abominations, which have filled it, from one end to the another with their uncleanness.
Go ahead.
Now therefore, give not your daughters unto their sons, neither take their daughters unto your sons, nor seek their peace or their wealth forever, that ye may be strong and eat the good of the land, and leave it for an inheritance to your children forever.
Right. Go ahead.
And after all that is come upon us for our evil deeds, and for our great trespass, seeing that thou, our God, has punished us less than our iniquities deserve, and has given us such deliverance as this.
Watch this.
Shall we again break thy commandments and join in affinity with the people of these abominations?
Affinity means a relationship. Entering a relationship or marital relationship with these nations. Should we what?
Should we again break thy commandments and join in affinity with the people of these abominations?
The answer is no. Go ahead.
Wouldst not thou be angry with us till thou hast consumed us, so that there should be no remnant nor escaping?
Go to, what verse is that, 14?
Yes, sir.
Go to chapter 10, verse 1. Read a little faster. Wrap it up soon.
Ezra chapter 10, verse 1.
Yeah.
Now when Ezra had prayed, and when he had confessed weeping and casting himself down before the house of God, there assembled unto him out of Israel a very great congregation of men and women and children.
Men and women, because men and women were guilty of this, marrying other nations. If the men do it, the women are sure to follow. It's inevitable. Go ahead.
For the people wept very sore. And Shechaniah, the son of Jael, one of the sons of Elam, answered and said unto Ezra, we have trespassed against our God.
How?
And have taken strange wives of the people of the land.
That's how. Go ahead.
Yet now there is hope in Israel concerning this thing. Now therefore, let us make a covenant with our God to put away all the wives, and such as are born of them, according to the counsel of my Lord, and of those that tremble at the commandment of our God. And let it be done according to the law.
Go ahead.
Arise, for this matter belongeth unto thee. We also will be with thee. Be of good courage and do it.
Go ahead.
Then arose Ezra and made the chief priests, the Levites, and all Israel to swear that they should do according to this word. And they swear.
Verse 6.
And Ezra rose up from before the house of God and went into the chamber of Johanan, the son of Eliashib.
This is Eliashib's other son. You had Joiada, and then you had Johanan. Go ahead.
And when he came thither, he did eat no bread, nor drank water, for he mourned because of the transgression of them that had been carried away.
That's it. Jump to verse 9.
Verse 9. Then all the men of Judah and Benjamin gathered themselves together unto Jerusalem within 3 days. It was the 9th month on the 20th day of the month.
Come on.
And all the people sat in the street of the house of God, trembling because of this matter, and for the great rain.
Come on.
And Ezra the priest stood up and said unto them, Ye have transgressed, and have taken strange wives to increase the trespass of Israel.
Right. Go ahead.
Now therefore, make confession unto the Lord God of your fathers, and do his pleasure, and separate yourself from the people of the land, and from the strange wives.
Go ahead.
Then all the congregation answered and said with a loud voice, As thou hast said, so must we do.
Get rid of the wives. Verse 13.
But the people are many, and it is a time much rain, and we are not able to stand without, neither is this work of one day or two. For we are many that have transgressed in this thing.
Jump to verse 16.
Verse 16, and the children of the captivity did so, and Ezra the priest, with certain chief of the fathers, after the house of their fathers, and all of them by their names were separated, and sat down the first day of the 10th month to examine the matter.
So first day of the 10th month, they sat down to examine the matter. The first day of the 10th month. Watch this, 17.
And they made an end with all the men that had taken strange wives by the first day of the first month. And among the sons of the priests, there were found that had taken strange wives, namely, of the sons of Jeshua, the son of Josedek.
So Joshua's son married a heathen woman. Yes, Joshua's son. Go ahead.
And his brethren, Messiah, and Eleazar.
Well, not Joshua, the same Joshua from back then. This is before, this is way after him. But another brother named Joshua, son of Josedek, his son, go ahead.
And Eleazar, and Jerib, and Gedaliah.
Gedaliah, go ahead.
And
Verse
they
19.
And they gave their hands that they would put away their wives. And being guilty,
being guilty of marrying strange wives, go ahead.
they offered a ram of the flock for their trespass.
They went up for the ramp for their trespass, sin offering. Now, go to 1 Ezra 8:69. 1 Ezra 8:69. That's a lot. I'm just covering everything.
The book of 1 Ezra, chapter 8, verse
Cover
69.
also, there's no arguing it. 1 Ezra 8:69.
The nation of Israel, the prince, the priests, and Levites have not put away from them the strange people of the land, nor the pollutions of the Gentiles, to wit, of the Canaanites, Hittites, Perizzites, Jebusites, and the Moabites, Egyptians, and Edomites.
And the Edomites. This is Ezra 9 being repeated, but it mentions Edomites here. Go ahead.
For both they and their sons have married with their daughters, and the holy seed is mixed with the strange people of the land. And from the beginnings of this matter, the rulers and the great men have been partakers of this iniquity.
Of this trespass. Same thing. Same exact thing. Get Malachi 2:10. Give me that screenshot real quick. That screenshot. The book that I use. That's the book I normally use. Nelson's Bible, complete book of Bible maps and charts, Old New Testaments. I use this all the time when I taught class online. I always use this book all the time. It's pretty resourceful, pretty good. Jump to the page I want regarding Malachi, the time frame he was teaching. Book of Malachi is the last book of the Old Testament. Read that real quick.
Malachi, blow it up some.
It's going to tell you when.
All right, sorry.
Yeah, read the first paragraph. Malachi, a prophet. You can move it over here.
Malachi, a prophet, in the days of Nehemiah, directed his message of judgment to a people plagued with corrupt priests, wicked practices, and a false sense of security. Using the question and answer method, Malachi probes deeply into their problems of hypocrisy.
Watch this. Hypocrisy.
Infidelity.
And what?
Mixed marriages.
Mixed marriages. Go ahead.
Divorce.
Their divorce they were doing. Go ahead.
False worship and arrogance.
Now jump down. Go down a little bit. Go down to date. Let me see. You're right. Yeah, read here. Date. Read that.
Although an exact date cannot be established for Malachi, internal evidence can be used to deduce an approximate date. The use of the Persian term for governor, Pekah, 1 and 8, indicates that the book was written during the Persian domination of Israel.
Right.
The temple had been rebuilt since sacrifices were being offered in the temple, chapter 1, verse 7 to 10. In addition, Malachi's oracle addressed the same problems that Nehemiah faced: corrupt priests, chapter 1, verse 6, chapter 2, verse 9, Nehemiah chapter 13, verse 1 and 9.
Go ahead.
Neglect of tithes and offerings
Skip that. And intermarriage. Watch this.
and intermarriage with pagan wives.
Go ahead.
Nehemiah had come to Jerusalem in 444 BC
Right. Go ahead.
to rebuild the city walls, but returned to Persia in 432
Because
BC.
Nehemiah took a leave of absence from work. Because he was the king's cupbearer. So he left work to go and do this, and he returned back to work. So when he returned back to work, read on.
On his return to Palestine in 425 BC, Nehemiah dealt with the sins described in Malachi.
Sorry.
Thus, it is likely that Malachi proclaimed his message while Nehemiah was absent between 432 and 425 BC.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Read again. Nehemiah had come to Jerusalem again. Read again. I'm sorry. I got distracted.
Nehemiah had come to Jerusalem in 444 BC to rebuild the city walls, but returned to Persia in 432
Okay.
BC.
Coming. Go ahead.
On his return to Palestine, 425 BC, Nehemiah dealt with the sins described in Malachi. Thus, it is likely that Malachi proclaimed his message while Nehemiah was absent between 432 and 425
Nehemiah
BC.
was gone for 7 years. 7 years, I believe. He was gone for 7 years. And while Nehemiah was gone, Israel started being stupid again. So Malachi had to come and take his place and blast them for doing the nonsense while Nehemiah was gone. So Malachi takes place when Nehemiah left temporarily. You understand? So Nehemiah, Malachi, and Ezra are all in the same time frame. So Malachi was checking them for the same thing Nehemiah and Ezra was checking them for. You understand? That's when Malachi takes place. So now, go to, where we at? Malachi 2 and 10 now.
The book of Malachi,
Read a little
chapter,
faster, for lack of time. Malachi 2 and 10.
the book of Malachi, chapter 2, verse 10. Have we not all one Father? Have not one God created us? Why do we deal treacherously, every man against his brother, by profaning the covenant of our fathers?
Watch this, 11.
Judah hath dealt treacherously, and an abomination is committed in Israel and in Jerusalem. For Judah hath profaned the holiness of the Lord, which he loved, and have married the daughters of strange God.
Daughter of
a strange God.
Heathens, go ahead.
The Lord will cut off the man that doeth this.
The Lord will do what?
The Lord will cut off the man that doeth this.
Cut off means to destroy, kill. Go ahead.
The master and the scholar out of the tabernacles of Jacob, and him that offered an offering unto the Lord of hosts.
Including the priest. Go ahead.
And this have ye done again, covering the altar of the Lord with tears, with weeping, and with crying out, insomuch that he regardeth not the offering any more, or receiveth it with good will at your hand.
Right, verse 14.
Yet ye say, wherefore? Because the Lord have been witness between thee and the wife of thy
The
youth.
wife of your beginning is your own woman. She's the wife of your youth. She's the wife of your beginning. That's your people. Go ahead.
Against whom thou hast dealt treacherously. Yet is she thy companion and the wife of thy covenant.
15.
And did not he make one? Yet had he the residue of the Spirit. And wherefore one? That he might seek a godly seed.
A godly seed. Go ahead, between those two. Man, the Israelite man and woman. Go ahead.
Therefore take heed to your spirit, and let none deal treacherously against the wife of his youth.
Go ahead.
For the Lord, the God of Israel, saith, that he hateth putting away.
They were putting away their own women and taking heathen women instead. That's what they were doing. Go ahead.
For one covereth violence with his garment, saith the Lord of hosts.
Use the Bible as an excuse. Go ahead.
Therefore take heed to your spirit, that ye deal not treacherously.
You deal not treacherously with your women. That's what he's saying. Get Tobit 4 and 12. Almost done. Tobit 4 and 12.
The book of Tobit, chapter 4, verse 12. Beware of all whoredom, my son, and chiefly take a wife of the seed of thy fathers, and take not a strange woman to wife.
Take what?
Take not a strange woman to wife,
Take not a strange woman to wife. Go ahead.
which is not of thy father's tribe.
Which is not of your father's people. Go ahead.
For we are the children of the prophets, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember, my son, that our fathers from the beginning, even that they all married wives of their own kindred, and were blessed in their children.
And we're blessed in them. Go ahead.
And
those
there's-
children of their own. Go ahead.
And their seed shall inherit the land.
Go ahead.
Now therefore, my son, love thy brethren, and
Love thy brethren. Go ahead.
and despise not in thy heart thy brethren,
Do not despise in your heart your people.
the sons and daughters of thy people,
The sons and daughters of your people. Go ahead.
and not taking a wife of them.
And not marrying them. So when you don't marry them because you despise them, that's what it is. You're wicked as hell. I'm just going to be flat, blunt, straight with you. Go ahead.
For in pride is destruction.
Because the reason why they won't take them as wives is because they're prideful. I don't want to deal with them. I'm going to marry somebody else. You're being prideful. Go ahead.
And much trouble. And in lewdness is decay.
And that's lewdness doing so. Lewdness. Immoral. Go ahead.
And in lewdness is decay and great want.
And great understanding. Is that it?
For lewdness is the mother of famine.
Means death. Lee, that's why you see Kanye going crazy. Losing his mind. Bugging the hell out. Give me a Sirach 26. Sirach 26:20.
The book of Sirach, chapter 26, verse 20.
Uh-huh.
When thou hast gotten a fruitful possession through all the field.
Fruitful possession is a woman, your wife. Go ahead, read again.
When thou hast gotten a fruitful possession through all the field.
The field is the earth, the land. Go ahead.
Sow it with thy own seed.
Sow it, the woman, with your own seed. Go ahead.
Trusting in the goodness of thy stock.
Because you're the same nation. Go ahead.
So thy race.
Your what?
Race.
Your nation, your race. Go ahead.
Which thou leavest shall be magnified, having the confidence of their good descent.
Having the confidence of their good descent. Not being raised as a mixed nut. Don't know who they are. They're racially confused. I don't know where I belong. What do I put in the job application? I don't know. I put other. I'm confused. No, your children, you marry within the nation so they're not raised confused. There's no law that tells you to keep your heathen woman. That's not biblical. It's not biblical. The Lord allowed Moses. He gave them pardons. He ain't talking to you. That don't apply to you. That's why as Nehemiah would say, listen, get rid of them. We're going to start all over again fresh. Get rid of them. Marry your own women. That's the law. The Bible tells you marry your own women. Do not marry outside the nations. The other nations. If you're going to marry the other nations, don't teach no more. That's all. Just be American. Don't teach no more. It don't make sense to stand in the corner, con, with a staff in your hand, in a Metreon, cursing the white man out, and then going on to white women at home. Don't make no sense. It's hypocrisy. There's no other way around it. If you're married to, how are you going to be married to Moab? That's God's hit list. Psalms 83, Edom's on God's hit list. Ishmael's on God's hit list. Moab is on God's hit list. Edom's number one. Why would you want to marry that? God hates that nation entirely. You want to marry that? You niggas are the worst, man. Y'all are the worst. You shouldn't have to even go over this. Read it again. 21 again.
So thy race, which thou leavest, shall be magnified, having the confidence of their good descent.
They'll have confidence of their good descent because they'll know that their father and mother are the same royal nation of people. They will not grow up confused, not knowing where they are, what they are. Now, I'm not saying that. Now, of course, you have people in the congregation. Some of you have heathen mothers. That's fine. We understand that. We understand the Most High had a reason for you being brought into this world with that situation. It's what it is. The Lord called you in. You are what your father is. That's undeniable. That's biblical. However, in your repenting, coming into this truth, you must not make the same mistake that your fathers made. You must marry within your nation. Abraham did the same thing. He wasn't supposed to do that, but we must learn from their mistakes and do better. Everything our forefathers did was not to be applied. Yeah, Abraham did. I could do it. No. Everything that our forefathers did was not to be repeated. Our job as the children of our forefathers is to do better, to excel, not repeat. Get on Wisdom of Solomon 11:23. Wisdom of Solomon, 3 more. Wisdom of Solomon 11:23. Give me that image real quick. That image also of the when you're. I'm gonna understand something. When you're in, as I said before, you're in this truth. If you're gonna have a heathen spouse, don't teach in the street. Then don't curse no heathens out, because it's hypocrisy. This is an image here you have of. Go back. Onto me. Go back to the image again. All right. Blow it up some. If you can. If you can't, that's fine. All right. You see here, a sister over there played Harriet Tubman. You see who she's with. I believe he's Edom. Look over. You see the brother Nat Turner right there. Image. The brother right there to the bottom. He's married to her. They say she's Edom. But My point is, and the brother right there played in Black Panther. He wants to play Marcus Garvey. That's his wife right there. Now understand what I'm saying. This image right here was a statement that was made. If you're gonna play black nationalist roles, you need to be married to or involved with your own people. That's people in the world. When you're in the truth and you have a heathen spouse, your integrity is questioned. When you're in the world and you have a heathen spouse or an alleged heathen spouse, your integrity towards your race is questioned. You talk all this black this and black that and pro-black this and pro-black that, and you go home to the enemy. So the children of darkness have more sense than children of light, apparently. Because here you are in the truth, the most wonderful truth of all in the world, and your resolve is to go out and find a heathen woman, then go on the street and curse out heathens, or curse out a black woman for having an Edomite man, but you got an Edomite woman at home. It don't make no sense. It's not biblical. So it doesn't make. That's why you have brothers like Nate Parker here and this brother here and her up here. Their loyalties are brought into question because they're playing all these black nationalist roles, and they're allegedly, possibly, sleeping with other nations. So people in the world look at you sideways like, yo, how you gonna be married? How you gonna be up here talking this pro-black stuff or pro-Israelite stuff? You married to the nations. No one can take you seriously in the world. No one will take you seriously in this truth. That's my point. We can't take you seriously. And we can question your integrity. Now, the Bible says marry your own nation. I don't have to prove who any nations are, to be honest. If I say you can't marry, if I asked you to prove to me who the nations are in Deuteronomy 7, you might say to me, well, who's Japheth today? Who's Kittim today? Who's so-and-so? I don't have to answer that question because I'm not going to marry them regardless. I'm going to marry the nation. We're going to marry our own people. What matters is your race and who they are. Once you know who they are, that's who you marry. So the argument is not on me. The argument is on you at this point. Let that go. Wisdom of Psalm 11, verse 23. So like I said before, our forefathers did things the Lord did not agree with, but he allowed it. Like, for example, having a carnal king. He knew in advance we were rebellious. He gave us a human king, a earthly king. He knew we were rebellious. He allowed us to have divorce. He knew we were rebellious. He gave us concubines. Read that.
The book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 11, verse 23.
Come on.
But thou hast mercy upon all.
Right.
For thou canst do all things, and winkest at the sins of men.
Winkest means he pardons it. He'll wink at it. All right. You shouldn't be doing that, but all right. He winkest at what?
And winkest at the sins of men.
Go ahead.
Because they should amend.
So he winkest at the sins of men. The Lord has mercy on whom he has mercy. That's the point. Get Acts 17, 29 to 31. Acts 17. 17, 29 to 31.
The book of Acts, chapter 17, verse 29.
Come on.
For as much then as we are the offspring of God, we ought not to think that the Godhead is like unto gold or silver, or stone graven by art and man's device.
30.
And the time of this ignorance.
The time of ignorance goes into when we was in the world, we didn't know any better. The times of us being in idolatry, the times of us marrying the other nations, we didn't know any better. But watch this, read.
And the times of this ignorance God winked at.
God what?
Winked at.
God winked at it. Go ahead.
But now commandeth all men everywhere to repent.
How? God getting rid of them now. They got to go. You cannot have a heathen woman at home celebrating Christmas and you celebrating Hanukkah. They got to go. You're not Moses. You're not Joseph. You're not Esther. You're none of those people. You're you. Do better. Get rid of the heathen women. Period. There's nothing else that I can say to you. That's it. They got to go. Read on. 31.
Verse 31. Because he have appointed a day in the which he will judge the world in righteousness by that man whom he hath ordained.
Christ, go ahead.
Whereof he hath given assurance unto all men.
Israelite men.
In that he have raised him from the dead.
Right. If you want to keep a heathen spouse, that's fine. Keep him. Just don't teach no more. Don't teach no more. Just sit home, be American until death comes. But if you go and stand the street and teach about the white man's a devil and you got a devil at home, don't make no sense. It's hypocrisy. You're going to die in that too. Romans 15:4. You got Elam treating us like trash in Jamaica and Guyana. You got Moab robbing Africa. You're going to marry that. You got Edom killing us in the street. You're going to marry that. Ishmael has us as slaves over there in Africa. You're going to marry that. You can't make this up. Romans 15:4, last scripture.
The book of Romans, chapter 15, verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning.
Things written aforetime are written for our learning. Things to do and things to learn from and learn not to do. What to do and what not to do. What your fathers did, you can't. Some things you can do, and some things your fathers did, you should not do. Like have sex with a prostitute, sell your brother into slavery, have sex with your father's wife, marry other nations. It's a whole plethora of things our forefathers did we're not supposed to do according to the law. We're not supposed to do it. Read again.
For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope.
That us through comfort and patience of the scriptures might get the kingdom, have hope, and strengthen our faith. So again, everything our forefathers did was an example of either what you should do or an example of things on what you should not be doing. It's written for our learning, to learn from and to either avoid or apply. Either way, it's an edifying purpose regardless. You understand? All right, well, so I would say shalom. Thank you.
We used to scream black power while Heron was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission. Minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold. From Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.